Etzel Ford for Unity Week. It's a student-led initiative. Ms. Hessen's principal advisory team had the idea to put on a week of events and activities for students. The theme is, of course, unity. They wanted to bring all students together to highlight the value of being unified as a community.
We really put an emphasis on making sure that students were talking with other students that they don't usually talk to, just to find common ground. We had classrooms partnering up with different classrooms, and even teachers were participating in activities at Etzel Ford.
The main event that we had was kind of themed days for each day of the week. The Principal Advisory Committee, which is a group of students, we all collectively made up the themes for each day.
And we collabed with Peer-to-Peer,
Mental Health-Based Club,
a nonprofit through the University of Michigan of Ann Arbor. And so Peer-to-Peer and Principal Advisory kind of combined the idea of unity. So we did a Spirit Week. And then we have today, like with Lucy and Friday, having all the students come together and do different activities.
They also came up with really cool questions that they put up on the windows on the hallways in Etzel Ford, where other students were able to interact and answer things like what makes you unique, tell us something about your culture that you find really special. And then they helped us plan some in-classroom activities as well that the whole building participated in at the same time.
The students are actually running all of the activities that we have going on at lunches today. Another thing is that hallways were assigned colors, so like once you look at the doors, they're all like themed by color. The students were actually helping their teachers decorate their doors, so they were participating in it. You'll see some where there's writing prompts. Students wrote on like basketballs or leaves or just different things, and so students were really involved in that aspect.
Here's the Unity puzzle. Students get to color and design their own puzzles and kind of work together to make it all one giant puzzle.
Well, as an employee at Etzel Ford and watching the events happening, I've actually been able to see relationships form that weren't necessarily there prior to these events. They're not always given the right opportunity to have these conversations because they're here to learn. And so having that free space to just communicate with others really just showed a sense of community in our building.
Hi everyone, this is another 1-minute message update. I'm here at Dearborn High at the Unified Basketball Game with Amir and Executive Director Saley. How's it going here, Amir, with the basketball?
Well, it's fun.
Yeah? You guys are doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah? And the team's playing hard?
Yeah.
Well, good luck in the second half. We were rooting for you, okay?
Go Dearborn.
Awesome. And Mr. Saley, what do you think about this event here?
I can first and foremost go Dearborn.
Yeah.
Amir. I think this is one of the most heartwarming, best events I'm at. Honestly, my entirety of my career. It's great today. They're doing a great job. And currently, right now, they're winning by 2.
Awesome!
So
Way to go!
awesome.
Go Dearborn! Way!
Oh.
My gosh, I can feel your energy. You're part. Okay. So you guys can see on the slideshow, we do have our annual sing-along. We want to welcome all of our kindergarten students to our sing-along. This is the first year that you guys do this. And to everybody else, welcome back. We do this every year at your park. We gather before our winter vacation to come together and have fun and sing. But we wanted to make it extra fun and special this year. So not only do we have a sing-along, we also have a Minute to Win It assembly. Do you guys know what Minute to Win It games are? Okay, so I'm gonna tell you guys how you earn or play Minute to Win It games. Everybody who's been on green all week, your teachers gave me your names. I have all the grade levels here. We're gonna pick one name out of each grade level. You guys, whoever's name gets picked, gets to play the game. We have 9 games. In between each of our songs that you've been practicing with Miss Pravetch, I know she's been working very hard on the songs with you. So we'll take a break between each game, sing a holiday song, then do another game. However, what happens if you're not listening to the directions of the game? No, you might lose. We want you guys to win. Every win each game wins a gift card from Five Below. And even if you don't win, you still get a small prize. Are we good? So every game's gonna have winners, and every game's gonna have, and that's okay. We're here to have fun. We're here to have fun. We're here to be a family, cheer for each other. Let's give all of our players a big round of applause. High five, high five. Good job, good job.
Now, I know for you, students start asking for snow days back in August.
Yes, they do. They do. They really do. At homecoming is when it starts.
But realistically, we're now in that time of year
Yes.
when we may have to have a snow day. And so I think it's a good idea just to go over and review, even though we do it every year, but it's a good idea to go over and review once again that process you go through when we do have to close schools. We want to stay open, but there does come a time where safety is a factor, and you have to make that important and difficult call of closing schools. So how does that work, Glenn?
So there's a lot of data that goes into it. I would just say our local data, like we have our team, we need to know our local conditions, what may happen with, for example, snow removal if it was a snow situation. If it was a cold situation, we may want to know how about the ice around the schools, the roads. Oftentimes I may be talking to the city or the mayor to determine what he thinks based on his ability to get the roads cleared. The buses are a big factor. If they get to a certain temperature, they may not start in the morning. I remember one time in 2019, we had the buses running all night in order to get things operational in the morning. Another piece of data is with meteorologists. I know we have the local, everybody can access meteorologists, but Dr. Colbert from Wayne County gets the superintendents in a meeting with a meteorologist to give us an in-depth analysis over multiple, usually it's about 45 minutes to an hour, sometimes maybe 30 minutes to 45 minutes, which is very, very helpful.
Hi everyone, it's another 1 minute message update. I'm here back with Waleed and Miss Ruffing. And Waleed, what's going on here? How's it going at Etzel Ford?
We're getting some electric buses and we're getting them all down the streets, quiet down all the roads, and they're driving us safe.
Okay.
Getting us off to schools, getting us all the way here and back.
And then what are you doing in school here in your class? I heard you like snow days.
Yeah.
Snow days, yeah.
Yeah.
Waleed likes being a helper. He has got a buddy actually in the 10th grade class that he helps take to the bus
Awesome.
and kind of mentors him. So
Oh,
Waleed's
wonderful.
been quite a leader this year.
Awesome, Waleed. So you like helping other students out?
Yeah.
That's great, Waleed. We're getting you in a record number of 1 minute message updates. We're going to have to talk to Amir because he's been getting in a lot too, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Miss Ruffing.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank
that.
you.
And Waleed, give me a little foot bump.
Boom.
All right. Hi everyone, it's another 1 minute message update here at Dearborn High. We're wearing the Lions. They just beat the Packers. Go Lions. We just came through passing time, saw a lot of students. Ms. Pletsky, we're here for the Employee Recognition Program. Why is this program important?
You know, we're so excited to go building to building and really recognize all of our educators and our amazing support staff and our administrators and just thank them for everything that they do every day supporting students. And nominations come from the other colleagues and to make sure that they're recognizing and appreciating everything that their colleagues do for them too.
Awesome. And Ms. Alibazzi, we just recognized Ms. Soul, the teacher here. I know it was heartwarming with your students. What was that experience like?
It's the best part of the day. So good to see our teachers with their students being honored as they should every day, and it was a great experience.
Heartwarming always. I'm so glad. Thank you to both of you for putting this program together. Great job.
Thank you.
So we are here today as part of the Michigan Assistive Technology Program, and we are a statewide program aimed at helping folks with all different kinds of disabilities to get hooked up with assistive technology to do the things that they want to do. So that can be anything from art to education to recreation. We have an outdoor recreation person, gaming and crafting, daily living. I find that a lot of people don't know that these things exist, right? So when you talk about assistive technology, a lot of people think about only computers, which is important, and we do some of that, but like we have crayons and things for mental health and things for cooking and life skills and just things so that you can have a full life and do the things that you want to do. One of the things that's really fun for me about working with the kids is everything that you show them, they're really excited about. I don't know if you've kind of seen the energy in the room today. They're really excited about everything. And also just for me, as the youth assistive technology specialist, I love anything to do with kids. So I get really excited anytime I see kids being really excited. And then just to let people know again, and to sort of normalize that it's okay for people to use these things and need these things and that they're available. Generally, what will happen with our program if folks need something is they'll call us and say, I need supports with A, B, C, whatever it might be. And then we will get them hooked up with the appropriate specialist based on what they're telling us they need help with. And we can talk through the options that we have. And if they want to try something, we can provide demos. We can come to folks to do those demos, or they can come to us, whatever works best. And then if they decide that they like something, we can loan it to them, most times on a short-term basis. But then if they need something longer term, we can work out that arrangement. And then at the end of the loan period, if they decide that they want to buy the device but financing is an issue, we can direct them to places that might be able to help them with financing. So we try to have a little bit of something for everybody, again, just so that they can do the things that they want to do with their life.
Good evening. Calling to order the regular meeting for the School District of the City of Dearborn for Monday, February 10th, 2025. Mr. Secretary,
Okay.
roll call.
Yes, roll call. Trustee Al-Jahmi.
Here.
Trustee Barry.
Here.
Trustee Petlichkov.
Here.
Trustee D'Ambrosio.
Here.
Trustee Czar, that's me. Vice President Watts.
Here.
President Mosip.
Here.
All right.
Next item, please.
Next item is the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Tonight we have Ms. Zahra Zrake, the principal of Becker Elementary, along with students who will lead the Pledge of Allegiance, and she'll introduce them to us.
Good evening. I'm Zahra Zreek. These are my students, Abbas Al-Dulaimi, Tatiana Youssef, and Batul Mroueh. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job. Come on up, come on up.
Right there. In the middle.
Tatiana. Tatiana, thank you.
Whoa.
Great job.
Tatiana. Good job. Proud of you.
Batul, thank
High
you
five.
so much.
High five, great job.
Another round of applause for our two students. Next item, please.
Next, we have the superintendent's item, or superintendent's update, starting with agenda items.
Good evening, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Unfortunately, I would like to start with a moment of silence. And we had a passing of a former student in a vehicular accident, so if we could just take a few moments silent. Thank you. Thoughts and prayers are with his family. I will move down the agenda items, Mr. President.
Please.
So I'll start with retirements like we do every month. We have a few retirements this month. Nancy Chase, 26 years of service. Dr. Winifred Green, 25 years of service. Linda Gunnis, over 36 years of service. Fathi Hashim, over 18 years of service. Dr. Ryan Lazar, 25 years of service. Linda Lippert, 27 years of service. Genevieve Sullivan, over 35 years of service. Teresa Hanhook, over 13 years of service. And Jeff Conway, 27 years of service. If we could show our appreciation and thank them for the many years. So I'll move to non-agenda items, and I have right now a presentation of a check, Mr. Ali Saeed, I believe, and Ms. Lami Sour is going to come up. These are grants that were received and donations to the district for robotics and athletics. And we appreciate Mr. Saeed's support. I've been at some of the events myself in the basketball, and I know the students are so excited, and the gymnasiums are jam-packed with parents and students, so it's a real positive. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
It's my pleasure to welcome the founder and CEO of HYPE, who is also a family member, to Dearborn Schools, to the board meeting to present these two checks. Ali applied for and got approved for a grant, and he called me up and said, we need to share it with Dearborn students in our elementary schools, and here we are. Ali will elaborate a little bit more about how we're spending that money, but it's been, if you've been to the games, you'd know the hype that's happening in those gymnasiums with the families and the employees, instructional and non-instructional, all partnering up. And just the students' enthusiasm and the momentum that's happening in these buildings is unbelievable. I'll send you all the game schedule, and I'd love to see you at one of the games. Ali.
Good evening. I'm joined by Maha, our CFO, Maha Seba, and Billy Amon, our Operations Director, COO. The truth is, honorable board members and administrators and family members, we have an awesome district. That's the truth. Everything becomes great when we join together, and it's been an absolute honor working with all of you that played a major role, including Lamise and Mysum and Dr. Glenn and many, many others. I'm here today to award, let's do the first one, $90,000, which will fund all the elementary robotics programs for all the schools that are participating this year. So we're grateful to have collaborated with the district on that project. It's fun, it's cool, but the second one is cooler. As a product of the district, participating in the Physical Fitness Award, the Presidential Fitness Award, and getting all those blue patches as a kid, one thing that I wish I had was more organized sports, experiences as an elementary student. Especially being that many of the kids that participate in our HYPE programs at the center, the percentages are very low from the 48126, 48121, 48120 zip codes. Less than 7% of our participants come from those zip codes. So for years and years and years, we've tried to advocate for programming within the district, specifically targeting the East Dearborn schools. Obviously the gap was very evident. The disparities were very evident. So this year, again, thanks to the partnership we've established and the funding that we were able to receive and hopefully continue to receive for many, many years to come, we're able to launch a really cool elementary athletics program that includes boys and girls basketball, soccer in the spring, and we're going to do a cross-country program in the fall, and that cross-country program will lead and end at the Cipriano race. So we'll have, a few meets, if you want to call them, for the kids, local, stay within their neighboring schools, and then that program will grow and end at the Cipriano race. One of the cool things we're also adding on is that fitness award. So we do want to encourage a challenge, a district-wide competition for elementary school students, possibly even take it up to the middle school students, that incorporates a variety of different skill sets and skills competitions, and then to give them an award here, to show who's the #1 person that can do the most chin-ups or most push-ups or the fastest runner or whatever the competitions are that we agree on and develop. But that is something that we're all very excited to incorporate and to work with you on. And as I had mentioned, and we all are super excited, from our board to our administrative staff and our leadership team. We love this district. None of this would have been possible without the leadership of the district, and that really has to resonate. I mean that. We have the best families, we have the best students, and we have the best leaders. And again, as a product, we're all products of Dearborn. It's an honor to serve with you and alongside you with our serving our children. So thank you.
Thank you.
What's that check for? Say the amount of the second check.
I'm sorry. So the second check we've allocated $250,000 to run all of those 4 sports or athletic programs. So $250,000 has been allocated for that. I never thought we'd get to that point where we're giving money, because we always need money, but we're grateful.
Trustee Watts?
Yes. So thank you for that. That is amazing. So I have a couple of questions regarding the athletics. Do we have metrics as to how many students we're hoping to get involved in the elementary sports?
Well, yeah, we have the limits. For boys basketball, it was 700. For girls basketball, we actually anticipated a little bit fewer kids participating. The boys actually motivated the girls, and we were able to get a significant amount. That limit is 500. We're at 500 girls. For soccer, we're anticipating super high numbers, and we've allocated funding for about 700 kids as well between all the schools, because there's, it's a bigger game. It's, 8-on-8 is what we're going to try to run for these kids. And then for cross country, we're hoping everyone participates.
Okay.
So it could be a grand total of about possibly 2,500 youth participating in all sports programs, excluding the fitness challenge concept. That project will include every child to compete.
And then also the donation, is it a one-time fund? Is it a rolling? Is it something that can be then
applied for year after year once we have that final report? I say we, but it's actually you, so.
Yeah, so I was just talking to Mrs. Reek about that before she had walked out. We're committed to this program. Whether we get the renewal of the grant or not, we're committing to this program, and God willing, it'll stay in the city of Dearborn forever. You know, there's ways that we could, you know, we can definitely save on some cost.
Okay.
You know, and reduce some of our expenditures, and maintain the quality that we've experienced this year. So with that being said, it's not ending.
Okay,
regardless.
I mean, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And then I guess the same for the robotics. Do we know how many schools we're going to be in, or how many students? What is the metrics on that? What's the goal?
Great question. I'm gonna let Lenise answer that.
So we have our own funding for robotics as well. This is in addition to that. I think we have around 15 schools who could find a staff member who could lead an additional team.
Okay.
So it'll grow. I'm sure it'll grow. We were later to begin this year, just the way things fell into place. Hopefully next year we can start a little bit earlier and get that going a little bit earlier and then get more teams on board.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Trustee Pedlishkov?
Yeah, Mr. Sad. Couple things to kind of tag along. And I'm a 48126 resident, so I really appreciate, because you don't see enough kids, even in their own neighborhoods, participating in any kind of, you know, sporting activities anymore. So it's wonderful that we're going to continue to encourage this kind of athleticism, and it also helps feed up into the middle and high school level. That being said, who's running these programs at each of the buildings? Is it going to be somebody from the building itself? Is
Yeah,
it
so-
somebody who's understands, just like we do at middle school and high school, the rules and the techniques that we need to be teaching these students? Or is it just a volunteer?
Great question. So we committed to hiring a liaison, a faculty member from each school to be basically our point person. For each school has one liaison. And then we've encouraged, for the most part, we've encouraged parents from the team to step up and volunteer and coach. So the liaison is a paid position. The volunteer position is the coaching position. So we have, you know, someone that has direct access to, you know, policies, procedures, regulations, you know, that can talk to the custodial staff or maintenance staff, that can communicate with all parents with, you know, a click of a button. So that's our current structure. Some of the schools, we had to actually hire some of our coaching staff to fill in the gaps, which worked great as well. Parents and faculty were very receptive to that plan as well. And that's what I was mentioning with like some of the cost cutting measures in the future, if needed, would be to consider an alternative to a paid liaison position. Possibly, you know, we can encourage, and they see the value of this program, and we can encourage them to partake in it as more of a voluntary role, or maybe a slightly less fee. But we'll determine that as funding presents itself in the future.
So one more question. Do the students just play each other in their own school buildings, or are we having competition between schools?
Every school has a 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade boys team, and then we combined a JV and varsity team for all the girls teams. There's 4 divisions within the district. The tractor division includes Eunice, Oakman, McDonald's, Becker, Laurie, and Maples. The legacy division is what we named it, includes Henry Ford, William Ford, Miller, Gear, and Salina. There's the Thunderbird division, Snow, don't tell me, Whitmore, Duval, Nowlin, and Long. And then the Pioneer division, the Hague, Howard, Lindbergh, River Oaks, and that was it, yeah.
Okay.
So 19
So
schools participated.
They all kind of, that group, that feeder group plays each
Yeah,
other.
100%. Yeah, they play each other, Pioneer plays each other, but then they
So we
meet
don't
at the
have to worry
semifinals.
about them having to be taken across district or anything like that, which may have been part of the issue with kids participating at HYPE, not having
We
transportation.
were worried about that.
Yeah.
And we actually have, for the girls, we have games being held every Friday. We select 2 teams, one from East, one from West, to play against each other, and they're held at Hype. Those are like the signature week games per week, and we have 100% participation. As a matter of fact, as many who could attest to it, the parental participation in this activity is beyond our expectation. Beyond our expectation. I mean, it's a
Better than them
full
being
house.
on a screen.
Yeah, well, they're not on the street anymore. It's better than a screen.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Trustee Al-Jahmi.
Ali, I've known you for a long time, and it's just a comment. I want to commend you on the amazing program, or on Hype as a whole. I remember when you first started doing 3-on-3 basketball tournament, and from where it started to where it's now, you and your team have done an amazing job.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the fact that you're giving back to the schools. You're at the schools now. Because sometimes it's difficult to get to Hype for some parents.
Of course.
But doing it at the local schools, Salina and other schools is amazing. And like I said, I commend you and your team for doing an amazing job in giving back to the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Watts?
I was just going to ask if you could share the schedule with the school board so we
Yes. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, it's one email. We'll send it.
Okay, thank you.
You have to come to a game, it's fierce.
I've attended the game, and it's crazy. The parents,
Who'd you
involvement,
watch?
their excitement was just amazing.
What schools did you watch?
Deer Park.
Okay.
Trustee Zahar?
Yeah, I just want people who are watching in the world and in the audience to know that this doesn't really happen in a lot of other places. Dearborn is an amazingly special place where this kind of stuff happens. And so I just want to say I love you all. I'm proud of you all. And my question is, can I play?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got you.
No.
For sure.
Joanne says no? Okay, all right, cool. All right.
Yeah, don't make promises, Ali.
No, we'll make an exception. We'll make an exception.
Thank you so much, Ali.
Thank you.
So much, Maha. And
Do I leave these?
Trustee Ayman, too. Thank you.
Picture?
Picture with Dr. Maleko and whomever from the trustees would like to take a picture with them.
Here and
You're not getting in the picture.
I want to be in the
Let's stand.
face this way.
Stand up here.
Why not? Go ahead, Pat. I'll wait for you guys to move. How are you, man?
How are you?
No, my knee is.
Yeah,
My knee is really bothering me.
Those will be posted. A matter of minutes. Well, no, because we're at a board meeting. Oh, that's true. That's after the board. These will appear tomorrow. Thank you so much. You can.
Thank you.
Sure.
It's pretty cool, huh?
To David's point, yesterday we held 80th birthday party for my father, and my family was like, "Oh no, Glenn will have that up before the pictures before we leave." They were up before the halftime show yesterday. So I also just want to mention that I went to Duval to see the competition between schools, and when I was a teacher back in the late '90s, early 2000 at Salina, I would have loved to have been able to do this for our students. So it's just a very positive thing to be able to compete inter-school, as you mentioned, Trustee Petlichkov. So thank you to them. I will move along then, Mr. President.
Go ahead.
I next have my favorite thing, my favorite group in the district. I have a lot of favorites, but this is the one that I really take pride in, the Superintendent Student Advisory Council, and they're here for a report with Dr. Soydan, who does a great job leading the way. They do a lot of great things, and they're going to report on some of that. So I'm going to ask Micah, Bisan, Miriam, and Meraki to come up and provide a presentation. And I know you've seen them before.
Hello, board members. We are part of the Superintendent Student Advisory Council, and we're here today to talk about our initiatives for MLK. I am Micah Mitchell. I am currently a senior at Henry Ford Early College.
My name is Bisan Al-Zain. I'm a current senior at Dearborn High School.
My name is Miriam Al-Zain. I'm a current junior at Dearborn High School.
And my name is Meraki Temeskin. I'm a current 11th grader at Dearborn High School.
Okay, so every year, SSAC tries to do something for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. He was big on community service, and we wanted to embody that by doing something for our community every year. So this year, we volunteered at local food pantries, and we raised money for humanitarian aid in the Middle East, and we are going to middle schools to teach them about mental health.
So this year we participated in the initiative in Zaman, where we got to help the Metro Detroit with initiatives. We got to organize cans. We got to learn about like their thrifting store that people can go through, and our team helped out and organized the supplies in the pantry to help the cause.
Okay, so one of our big initiatives this year is to raise awareness about the issue of bullying, vaping, and mental health in general. So we are actually, I talked about this at the last board meeting, I believe. So we are going to be visiting numerous middle schools and talking and presenting, giving them presentations and interactive games during the month of Ramadan about bullying, mental health, vaping, and the issues about surrounding these topics. And we plan to not only present them and give them the information, but also interact with them and make it a really engaging lesson. And we plan to do it during Ramadan because we know a majority of the middle schoolers are going to be fasting. So we plan to do that as a way to not only like distract them, but to keep them entertained, as well as giving them an informational lesson about these important issues in our district. So we're going to be doing so many fun games, and hopefully it'll really raise awareness about the issue to them in a really interactive and fun way that'll resonate with them.
So as you guys all know, the SSAC meets on a monthly basis, and tomorrow is actually our monthly meeting for the month of February. And this is a new initiative that Dr. Swaydan brought up this year, so I'd like to thank her for that. Tomorrow, as an extension of our regularly scheduled meeting, all of the SSAC members will be participating in a Safe Talk suicide training, which this is something new that Dr. Swaydan brought up. It's a training that'll be facilitated by training members from the University of Michigan Einsberg Center for Family Depression. And the main goal is to utilize interactive open discussions and video presentations to allow us students to be able to connect with students who might be feeling suicidal, suffering from depression, and to be able to safely connect them with the many staff members in our district that'll be able to provide them support. And so this is really important because the SSAC kind of serves as that link between students and staff. A lot of students in our district who might not be comfortable seeking help, this training will really allow us to become more receptive to that and more aware and open, so that way we can connect those students with the right resources in the district.
And with all of these initiatives, I wanted to give a quick shout out to someone who has been a big help to all of us. Her name is Miss Norma Harb. She is very invested in fostering leadership in all of us. She's very passionate, and she has a lot of connections that'll help us find the best organizations to donate to, and she has just been a great help with all of this, so I wanted to give a quick shout out to her.
Questions for the students? Trustee Petlishkov?
Well, it's not really a question, it's an observation. We just had a moment of silence for a young man who lost his life again in another tragic auto accident. And we've continued, the mayor was here at last month's meeting. We continue to talk and talk and talk ad nauseum. But our talking isn't making an impression. I know in the past, we've tried to utilize student members to have that safe driving kind of conversation in the school buildings. Are we going to try to continue, besides bullying and vaping and everything else, I think we really need to try to brainstorm for how we can really finally reach the parents and students who just are seemingly not understanding the dangers and tragedies that these occurrences are causing to our community.
Okay. So this was actually a topic, I'm glad that you mentioned it because I was talking about it with a teacher at school today, and she was telling me that how, as part of the superintendent, that we should be talking about more about the issue of driving in Dearborn in general, especially among the high schoolers, because I know a lot of our high schoolers, especially in Dearborn High, the parents tend to buy their kids really nice cars, and they don't tend to like tell their kids like, yeah, watch out. They say those things, but they don't say there's these dangers that can be caused by this car. It has such a strong engine power. Like, you should be careful. You should do this. You should do that. It's not emphasized enough until an accident happens, and then everyone starts posting on their stories. And then there's like a period where there isn't anything happening, but then it starts all over again, and then another accident happens. So there's definitely something that we can incorporate in our presentations, and we do plan on addressing that issue, hopefully, in the future. And I'm glad that you mentioned it because it's definitely a really prominent issue in our district, and it's been happening for years now. And I do believe action should be taken towards it. So that's definitely something we'll think about incorporating in our presentations.
The more voices we bring, the more attention we bring, hopefully, the more behavior will change.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you.
I wanted to ask the seniors on their future plans. So Micah and Bisan, what are your future plans?
Hi, so with the program I'm in, I'm a senior, but there's an extra year on top of that where we mostly just take college classes. But I plan on majoring in sociology, becoming a professor, and getting grants to do research in order to advocate for public policy.
You're already on that route, so great. Bisan?
So after I graduate from Dearborn High, I'll be attending Columbia University this fall. I plan to study biochemistry and concentrate in public health on the pre-med track. And my goal is to eventually become a physician, but then also advocate for public health policy work to serve our underprivileged communities.
Thank you, Bisan. And thank you to all of you for what you do representing your fellow students with Dr. Maleko. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Great job.
I'll move along. It's Black History Month, and what better way to celebrate the contribution of Black Americans in the United States, but with the MLK and the students doing these service projects. So we also send and have lessons in the schools, and just wanted to recognize Black Americans across the country for their contributions over many years. The next thing I have is positive news. We came out of Finance Committee today, and Mr. Wall runs those committee meetings with the chair and the other board members. And once again, 7 years, the Meritorious Budget Award. It's a rigorous award. We have the plaque right here. If we can give him and his department and the board a great round of applause, really. This is a big deal. It's about transparency, and not a lot of districts get this. It's from the Association of School Business Officials International. So congratulations, Tom, on the award. And like I said, the board's involved with this, the entire cabinet.
And we have 5 more spots you need to fill.
The next thing that I want to mention is we've talked here, and we had David and Tom talk last month, and we're going to have it on every agenda. President Mosip and I discussed this. You know, we're talking about a potential bond. We know we're in a situation, and I can say this is now my 29th year in the district, that infrastructure is a great need in this district, probably one of the top priorities long term. I've been talking at every event, with chatting events recently with staff and parents and whatnot, and we've had this topic going for a long time, as Mr. Wall and Mr. Mustadin discussed. We also have 2 RFPs that are going out. The one on infrastructure historical review, they're meeting with principals right now
That was approved by the board last month. We're not yet on the one with the communication, but that will be coming where we look at the data and information to potentially go for a bond. Now, here's the thing. We say potentially November 25, maybe in 26, and the reason is because we don't want to rush it. We want to make sure we're ready, but to let the public and the board know that by law, we would have to have a ballot proposal for a potential bond approved by August 12th. That's the deadline. So if we were to do it this year for November, we would have to target the July board meeting or a special meeting if we choose. Again, it's still potential. We still have a lot of work to do, and the board would ultimately have to make that final decision based on administration recommendations after we go to the community. But we want to keep it out there. We do see the needs as we have aging infrastructure across the district. And the last thing that I did want to mention as kind of an other, I got invited to a game on, I know Trustee Aljami was there and Trustee D'Ambrosio. They invited me to play in a charity basketball game. I haven't played basketball in many years, but I said it's, President Mosip was there. I got a picture with his kids. But I said it's for a good cause. All right, I said I'd do it. It was for fundraising in Lebanon, Palestine, and Yemen. And, you know, my wife said, your objective is just not to get hurt by the end of the game. It was a very long game, but I do play hockey. So they said, you'll be fine. I didn't score, but I was good on the boards and defense is what they told me. I played with the mayor, the chief, and others, and Mr. Omar, and CRSD, and many others. But it was really a wonderful community event. And I will say that game went longer than an NBA game. I don't know if those of you were there. It was a long event. But they had a lot of positive things for the community. So.
And Dearborn won.
Yeah, and Dearborn won. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
Not that we're competitive or anything. But.
So this is an annual event. Seems like now it's the fourth annual Dearborn versus Hamtramck. And Dearborn won, so the record's 3-1 right now.
Okay. And that's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Superintendent Maliko. Next item, please.
The next item is recognition and acknowledgements. We'll be starting with commendations.
Good evening. My name is Galeana Mireles. I am a senior at Henry Ford Early College, and this is...
Hi again. I am Micah Mitchell, also a senior at Henry Ford Early College.
I will first open with the district commendations. Commendations to the adult education staff for achieving a record-breaking enrollment of more than 2,010 students this year. The enrollment process for each student takes more than 2 hours, including a comprehensive assessment. The staff dedicated numerous evenings to facilitate the registration of students for GED and ESL classes. Next is the high school. Commendations to Donna Smith, an Etzel Ford paraprofessional, for quickly responding to a student who had passed out in the hall. Ms. Smith quickly made sure that the student was okay and followed up with all necessary procedures. We thank her for her concern, care, and as well as her leadership. Commendations to the Etzel Ford Principal Advisory and peer-to-peer students who hosted Unity Week, January 13th to January 17th. Unity Week brought awareness that even though we may have different outlooks on life, we all stand united, showing respect, concern, and compassion. The week was filled with various activities for students to engage in. Kudos to the Etzel students for taking on this initiative. Commendations as well to Yasmin Berry, Margarita Chavez, and Zainab Serini for supporting the students in this initiative. Commendations to the Dearborn Unified Figure Skating Team, to 3 district students selected to compete internationally. The team is not technically part of the district, but still includes a number of district students. Dearborn Unified won every one of its district meets this year, and the C team was runner-up in that division. Both teams qualified to compete at the state championship in March. Students Jillian Furlow from Dearborn High and Olivia Macklid and Molly Holland from Etzel Ford were named to Team USA by the U.S. Figure Skating governing body. These skaters will compete in the junior division at the Hivius Cup competition in Gdańsk, Poland this week, and the U.S. Figure Skating Nationals in Colorado Springs at the end of February for a chance to qualify for the World Championships. Our final commendations go to the following seniors who were awarded a $1,000 scholarship through the My Potential Mentoring Program that is facilitated by Ms. Kathy Khalil through the Dearborn Rotary. The students are Nora Durgam and Fatima Bazzi from Fortson and Jenna Dikala from Dearborn High. Thank you.
For the middle school, commendation to the basketball coaches Kevin Barkoff at Bryant and Yusuf Nasser at Woodworth. Both men, their teams, and even the spectators received a glowing report from the MHSAA refs officiating the district tournament game in January. The officials praised the coaches and teams for their passion and sportsmanship. Both coaches and players should be commended for their efforts and commitment to the sport of basketball, the officials wrote. Woodworth ended up winning their hard-fought game 34-33. Commendations to the district's middle school musicians who performed at the MSBOA District Solo and Ensemble Festival in February. From Lowry, students earning a 2 for very good performance were Aya Hamoud for a flute solo and Tala Habala, Aya Harb, Yara Alawi, and Zara Yasser for woodwind quartet. Earning a 1 for excellent performance were Rawan Aldiami, Hala Amasri for a viola duet, Leanne Altayil, Maya Ferris for a trumpet duet, Ahmed Habala, Hussein Ezzeddin, Hassan Mallah, Ahmed Materik, and Ali Materik for a brass quintet, and Hussein Ezzeddin for a trumpet solo, and Ahmed Materik for a trombone solo. For STEM Middle School, earning a 2 were Olivia Linderman, Miriam Abdulhaq, Max Ordio, Mia Tenovich, Mael Ali, and Yasmina Alawi. Earning a 1 were Tim Bloom, Alex Dewey, David Luska, Carson Post, and Alex Bruckley. For elementary, commendations to the district media specialist, Brad Neff and his wife, who repaired the free little library outside of William Ford Elementary School. Lower elementary students can use the library to now take a free book or leave one that they want others to enjoy.
All right, thank you. Next item.
Next, we have approval of minutes.
No, we still have employees.
Oh, sorry. Next, we have employee recognition.
Good evening, President Mosip, Dr. Maleko. I'm filling in for Mason Ali Bazzi today. Very blessed to get to do this, actually. I see Don Schuett is here. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the 3 winners this month of the district nomination. I believe you've probably seen them on the district website as well as Dr. Maleko's Instagram. The very first employee is the great Don Schuett, who's standing next to me. She's an early childhood special education teacher. She's been in the district for over 35 years now, has absolutely touched so many lives, and made this place just a better place all the way around. She was nominated for her dedication to her students. So great job, Ms. Dawn Schuett. I'm not sure if you have anything to say or.
I'd just like to thank my colleague for, the opportunity to, stand up here and accept this. I've been here for 35 years, 34 years with ECSC in the same classroom. So I've touched many lives of students, and I've met wonderful families. So thank you.
Truly appreciate your service. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. For the non-instructional employees, we have our great locksmith, Mr. Dennis Burkholder. Mr. Burkholder has been in the district for over 27 years now. He was nominated for doing a great job. Dennis works with the operations team and the entire district. Congratulations.
I want to say thank you, and I appreciate this, and I'm honored to have this award. Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
And our administrator recognized this month was Mr. Joseph Martin, Mr. Joe Martin over at River Oaks Elementary. Mr. Martin's been in the district for over 13 years now. He was nominated for showing appreciation for his staff during difficult times. He always makes sure that the staff are okay and then problem solve. So thank you, Mr. Martin.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity, and I share it with my staff. They make me better each day by their collaborative and working hard and focusing on student learning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Thank you and congratulations. They're very well deserved.
Next, we have acknowledgement of donations.
Good evening, President Mosip and the board. We have 8 donations I'll share with you today. A donation of $1,600 has been offered to Salina Intermediate School by the Dearborn Education Foundation to be used for phonics books. Number 2 is a donation of $275 has been offered to McCullough Unit School by the Dearborn Education Foundation to be used for making books accessible for a library project. Number 3, a donation of $240 has been offered to McCullough Elementary School by the Dearborn Education Foundation to be used for bingo for books. Number 4, a donation of pallet construction paper and markers have been offered to Cotter School by Wazik Yusuf to be used for the GSRP classrooms. A donation of $650 has been offered to Duval Elementary School by Fred Bello to be used for items in our new sensory room. Number 6, a donation of a couch, love seat, and love seat has been offered to Forsyth High School by Detroit Furniture to be used by students with physical needs to create an environment that fosters concentration, reduces anxiety, and supports the student's ability to engage with learning. Number 7, a donation of 103 handmade blankets and hats has been offered to Howe School by DIWA Pro Michigan to be used for each student to keep them warm during transition and floor time activities. And lastly, number 8, donation of a full-size refrigerator has been offered to Howe School by Nusra Hamoud and Nima Mohassan to be used to support the post-secondary programs with cooking and life skill activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wall. We definitely thank those partners and private citizens who have donated to our district. Next item, please.
Next item is the approval of minutes. Is the approval of minutes of the following Dear Board of Education meetings. Special meeting, that was a closed meeting on January 13th, 2025, Board Report 24-85. The organizational meeting on January 13th, 2025, Board Report 24-86. And the regular P to 12 meeting, January 13th, 2025, Board Report 24-87. We are looking for anyone to make any necessary corrections and move approval of these minutes.
So move.
Support.
Second.
Motion made by Trustee D'Ambrosio. Can I have Trustee Al-Jahmi support that
I'll
motion?
let Mr. Ojami
Okay,
have it.
thank you.
Okay, you can have it.
Any corrections or questions? I do have a correction, small one. Just the last name of Mayor Hamoud was not spelled correctly on page 12. Any other questions or corrections? All right. May I attach a unanimous roll to this in the affirmative? Thank you. Please attach a unanimous roll in this in the affirmative for this motion. Next item, please.
Next item is union leadership commentary. This new section of the board meeting is being added to further enhance the already strong commitment and longtime partnership between district administration and all bargaining units. Both instructional and non-instructional union members serve on a wide variety of standing and ad hoc committees that drive the work and decision-making in the Dearborn Public Schools. In addition, administration meets monthly with the leadership teams of all unions, as well as a group meeting with union presidents. These meetings are not required, but are an extension of the collaborative partnership that has long existed in the Dearborn Public Schools. This new section will further enhance the commitment to valuing all suggestions, views, and opinions brought forth by all staff members in the district. And I'll just skip directly to see where we have someone. Okay, so who we have here tonight with us is from the Dearborn Federations of Teachers, DFT, Miss Kathy Martin.
Good evening, how are you?
Good evening.
Theater people. It's nice to have support from everywhere. I'm here tonight to talk about building conditions. This has been an issue for a long time. I understand that having the bond fail several years ago did have a negative impact on how, buildings and infrastructure is being handled in the district. However, even if we pass a bond today, some of these building conditions won't be addressed for years to come. And we have students right now learning in classrooms that are 60 degrees. Now, maybe they're in and out of that room, for an hour, but teachers are in there teaching for 8 hours. We have, actually sitting here just now, I got an email from a teacher at one of the high schools who says her room is basically an inferno and there are no windows in that room. And she's put in work orders, but the district now contracts out to just 2 companies and they're understaffed and she has to wait who knows how long. So I don't know what the details are. But these kids are in and out of, in that classroom, and it's making it hard for her to teach and hard for the kids to learn. We have mold issues in the district. We have rodent issues, and these things would definitely be resolved with the bond. However, they need to be taken care of now, not when a bond passes. So I really hope that we're able to look at each individual building and figure out which ones can be resolved right now. I don't think anyone here wants their student learning in a classroom where black mold has been found, and we're not clear as to whether it's been cleared out or not. And to ask teachers to spend 8 hours a day in those rooms, we have teachers right now who are having health issues, whose doctors are telling them, you need to quit your job because it's an unsafe environment for you because of your health. So I mean, the money should be found somewhere because this is the health of our students and our staff. So I hope we can focus on that.
Thank you, Ms. Martin.
Thanks.
I do have a question.
Do you have a question for Ms. Martin?
Yeah.
Trustee Adami, go ahead.
Sorry. When we talk about the different conditions or issues, are they reported? And this is a question to Dr. Maleko, do we have a list of issues that, whether it's mold, whether it's any type of issues, is there a list of items that's been reported, is I guess what I'm saying?
I have an incomplete list. I have a list of the people who've reached out to me. I don't know at the district level, though.
So safety is our top priority, and obviously we want to address issues. So if you have some specifics, if you send it to me and to Mark Andrews, we will get on top of it. We do have a protocol, depending on what it is, because there were different things mentioned here, that we would look into it, address it, and bring in contractors. There's a lot of different things. Like I know, for example, in one of the schools, the roof needs to be replaced, or a portion of it, so there was water leakage, so they addressed it. I think the teacher had to move for a certain point in time, just as one example. But I appreciate the collaboration with Ms. Martin. If you could send us those things. There are things, though, when I go to like chatting events, and I'm saying like a lot of things that are requests that are made. For example, I was telling people this example, there's things that we probably should replace, but what we're doing is prioritizing, boilers and heating and electrical and things that you have to, like you would in your home, versus like requests for bleachers and new things that we probably should have, but we just don't have the funding for. And we did talk about, how we're funding some things today in the Finance Committee meeting. But if you could send me a list, then obviously we'll look into it. I know if there's ever mold or some other specific safety issue, Danielle's on top of it. We bring in consultants, we bring in contractors, we look to it, and we make sure we're in compliance with all the, the state and federal rules, and, to make sure people are safe. But I can understand their concerns, and I would just say this is another reason why we are also talking about a potential bond in the future, because we do not have infrastructure funding from the state, as was discussed in the Finance Committee, or the federal government. So we need to find another way to do it. And while a bond may be long-term, it's something that we need to do, now for the future. But in the interim, I know Mr. Wall and his team, and we discussed it today, they find ways to use our general, all we have now is our general fund, which most of it does go, for the people that work in our district. But I do know that Mr. Wall is always bringing what can we put on and put more money into infrastructure as well. So I appreciate you bringing these forward, and we will definitely, and the collaboration, we always are trying to work together. And of course, we want students and staff to make sure safety is number one.
Yeah, I just want to add to that, it's when we say there's issues, I would prefer there's a reportable mechanism, so we could track them. And then I agree with you, the bond is, for major infrastructure, but if there is any safety issue, mold, or anything like that, that's where they get prioritized. But if there's a reporting a way for teachers to report issues, and it gets to
Kinda
the.
like say something, see something, say something.
There is a ticketing system, I believe, yeah.
What was that?
We can have Mrs. Zaya come and address some of the concerns as far as addressing.
Good evening,
Somebody
everyone.
reports an issue in infrastructure.
So as far as reporting mechanism, we do have an air quality complaint form, and we use that for anybody in Dearborn schools can fill this form out. It gets reported through the engineers, and then we take a look at it. And if it's something that needs to be tested, so if it's something like mold or something that just smells in the air that the teacher would report, we do have an environmental consulting company that comes out, and they do testing, and they give us recommendations. And then we follow up and make sure that the recommendations that were given are followed. And if the room needs to be vacated while that work is being done, then we ask the teacher to relocate. We work with the school to relocate the teacher. And then once the room is safe to be reoccupied, we make sure that the teacher can go back in the inside of the classroom. So we do have all of those mechanisms in place. It's just that I do want to say one thing too about mold. So the EPA and the state do not have a mold threshold. And the reason for this is because mold is forever changing. Mold will grow when it's hotter outside. It gets less active when it's colder in a place or a space. And so like if I were to test my home today, it would come back positive for mold, guaranteed. And that's the reason that there is no threshold, because mold levels are continuously changing. So you could test something for mold today, temperatures change, environment changes, and then the test for mold tomorrow would be different. So we just try to work with our buildings and trades guys and operations and the testing company to just make sure that we look at each situation and try to clean up as much as we can.
So when mold is discovered, we do address it immediately.
Yes, we get it tested, and then the environmental company gives us recommendations. We make sure that the recommendations that we're given are followed through and try to remediate the issues.
Trustee Watts.
So I think part of this was already kind of discussed. I was just thinking, if I were a teacher and you were saying that there is a reporting system, is this reporting system electronic or is it a paper reporting system?
It's electronic and paper.
Okay, so
You
they
can do either one.
So they can do both?
Yes, some people prefer to email it to us. Some people prefer to send it inter-school mail.
Okay.
Yeah, so it could be done either way.
Reporting it up to the principal and then then the principal, we're waiting for them to.
It usually goes through the engineer.
Okay, so it goes straight to the engineer. So it's.
Normally, some teachers like to fill it out themselves and send it to me.
Okay.
And we don't want to tell them that they have to go through somebody. It's fine. If I get it from the engineer, we take a look at it. If I get it directly from the teacher, we take a look at it. If I get it, sometimes I'll get it directly from the principal.
So for instance, if I had like a classroom that was extremely hot, so I went on my app or on the form and I said, it's really, it's so hot and there's no windows. What would be then the turnaround until I would hear back from somebody saying, I acknowledge this and I'm sending somebody out?
Okay, heating and cooling?
Yes.
Not my thing.
Okay.
I'm going to call up Mark Andrews.
I'm just thinking, what would the turnaround be so that they would be able to?
Yeah, so it's normally the engineer would start a ticket for something like that, and then they'd get the HVAC guys out. If it's something that they can take care of right away, they do.
Okay.
Correct. So good evening. So yeah, we have a separate work order system for heating and cooling issues and other building issues. And we would direct those to the building engineer. And we always like to have the building administration a part of those conversations so they know what's going on in the building as well. I would like to add to what Ms. El-Zayed added, the form we use is recommended by the EPA. So it's a Google Doc and it can be either done electronically or printed and done by hand. But it is a document that the EPA suggests to use.
Okay, so it sounds like the teachers would have this tool that they could put in a work order, and what would be the turnaround until they would?
So every year, Trustee Watts, maybe even twice a year, I send out classroom tips and guidelines, and then that Google Doc that goes out to the entire district, and that Google Doc, the air quality complaint form, is actually linked in that document. So it's shared with staff about twice a year.
Okay, so my question would be, like, in the morning, it's ungodly hot in my classroom. And if I put in that request, would I be able to get some sort of reprieve or fans or something very shortly to start helping with the temperature control?
So a lot of options. One, if there's windows, that'd be something that the building could look at. Again, we like to have the building administration involved because, there's times where our HVAC technicians, we have 3, I'm gonna plug in. We'd like to hire more in the future, but we understand right now we can't. So they could be overwhelmed, and you do it by a priority, right? So, or first come, first serve. But, we try to get to them within, at least look at them within the same day. But as far as resolving them, it can depend on what parts are needed, what's the cause of it. So a lot of times with our older buildings, there's lead times. It can be a couple weeks to get the proper parts. That's why we like to work with the building administrator and see if we can relocate them even for a classroom that's too warm.
Okay.
Trustee Barry, and then we'll get to you.
Martin brings some issues that we've heard about before, but I want to concentrate, I want to make a comment. I don't think anybody is qualified to look at something and call it black mold. I mean, this is just, from my industry, I know that for a fact. But what I'd like to see is you communicate with Mr. Zayat or Dr. Maleko or both, what buildings this is at, and let's get it inspected, because black mold is very serious. And to allege out there on this world that, we have black mold in our buildings, it's alleged,
It came from a report.
Well, okay, it came from a report, but we just need to there's some responsibility. Some responsibility on us here not to put that out there that there's black mold, because that's some very serious stuff. Let's just get through this, please, Dr. Maleko. Thank you.
Trustee Petlicoff.
I think what Trustee Aljami was kind of alluding to, do we have any kind of spreadsheet, so to speak, of what's going on in every building when these kinds of work orders and/or air quality complaints, so that there's like a master list that somebody can look at, and maybe, just like we've done in the past for where we're at with schedules of construction projects, and what, could we have something that somebody could look at and track and say, okay, this is where you're at with this building, this room, this issue, kind of thing, so that it can be followed a little more transparently?
So with the building issues outside of the air quality, the work order system, you can run a report to see that's why we're very strict about making sure engineers submit a work order. So that's in the system, and it can always be tracked about which room, when it's been done, and what the problems were.
When it was logged in?
Correct.
And how, and
Correct.
where it's at?
And Mr. Wells,
Okay.
we're moving to another system, electronic system, for when we do kind of bigger projects. We can track what infrastructure improvements have been made in the district as well.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Trustee Zahar.
Sorry, I'm a little bit confused. So there is like some central system of work orders, tickets, whatever. Who submits those? So, in other words, can a teacher directly submit a work order or a ticket, or does it have to go to someone in the school first who then submits it?
So the building engineers, some buildings, our middle schools and our high schools have 2 building engineers. Our small elementary schools only have 1 elementary, unless you're at like Henry Ford Elementary. So the building engineer are the ones that are responsible for submitting a work order.
Okay, so how does it work before that? So I'm a teacher in the classroom. I write an email to the engineer, I talk to the engineer or whatever, and then the engineer submits the work order?
So we leave it up for the building administrator for each building to make the rules on how to report it. Most of them like to keep it through an email. It can be done verbally, really. So, but email is what a lot of administrators prefer. So that it can be recorded as well that way.
Why don't teachers directly submit a ticket or a work order?
It's a complicated system, and so the person that has to do it, we want to make sure that it's done properly and it goes to the right people.
Can't we have the reason I'm asking is just like so somehow we can, maybe one day track okay, this many requests came in, instead of there being some informal system before it gets to the engineer. You know, maybe there can be a system where a teacher or someone in the building submits something through the system and then it gets approved by the engineer, whatever, since it's a complicated system.
Right.
I'm sure the teachers can figure it out though. And so, you know, just so that we really know, so we have metrics, right? So we can hold everybody accountable at every step. Also, to protect against people making too, you know, that way you know if people are making too many requests, to make too many silly requests, whatever. But just so that there is some way to track everything from the beginning seems.
You were hitting it a little bit there, why we like the building engineer, because a lot of times it's something that can be small, and because part of their job responsibility is to take care of problems in the building. So that's one of the reasons why we like to direct it to the building engineer. So first, they're aware of the issue, so things aren't being submitted without them aware of it. Two, a lot of times they can investigate it. You know, they all hold boiler license, so they can look into the system. Sometimes it's as easy as just making an adjustment on our buildings that are newer, that have controls are electronic. So it might just be a matter of it, the schedule needs to be reset. So there's a lot of reasons why we like it to go through the building engineer, so they're aware of it and they can make sure that even when our trades come out, that they can help the trades show them where the problem is and what the problem is, and already started the investigation.
No, I understand all of that. I'm just saying, you know, maybe we have a system where something gets approved by the building engineer before it gets further, whatever. But it sounds like right now there's no formal system, formal uniform system of a complaint getting from a teacher to the engineer in the building. Is that right?
Correct. Their teachers aren't, they don't have access to, and we can look into expanding it to them for sure.
Okay. And then my other question, Kathy, is how long has all this stuff been going on in the schools?
Since I've been hired. However, things don't come to me right when it first happens.
Sure.
So usually, like the person who contacted me has gone through, like I'm only talking about today, I'm not talking about the reports I have, you know, in the computer. She has gone through the proper channels and said that I'm basically her last resort. And I will say, when I get involved, things do get resolved. So it's not like stuff, you know, it continuously gets pushed aside. But, you know, for the past 2 weeks, she's had a sweltering classroom with no windows. But, I mean, we've got old buildings, so some of the stuff is, it is what it is, you know? I've brought heaters into some of my rooms. You know, sometimes stuff you can figure out how to work with it, but some stuff, I can count off the buildings. But, you know, some stuff you can work around, but other things it's just difficult. And it's hard. It's one thing for you to be struggling, but to have a whole classroom of kids who are lethargic and have their head down and you're trying to teach, it's kind of tough.
To me, this just kind of highlights how we all need to, everyone, we all need to get on the same page because, you know, these schools are these kids' homes for 8 or 10 hours a day. And so we need to make sure that we all get on the same page so that when we do submit a bond to the community, it's been well-researched, well thought out, and has input from everybody so that it passes overwhelmingly. I really do believe that it'll pass overwhelmingly if we get everybody on board from the beginning. So I thank you for bringing all this up and being a voice for our teachers.
Trustee Watts?
So I think this was all great discussion as well, because I'm sure that there's probably some program out there or some way to be able to be transparent so we can see when that report's being made. But I think also as a teacher, like two things. Number one, you want to be able to say, like, this is the status of what is happening and how long it's going to happen.
Right.
But the other thing is sometimes some teachers like a nice colder classroom, some like a warmer classroom. So it's also personal preference, but you also know which room is that room in the school building, and you kind of paper rock as to who gets that one. So I think everyone knows who has that one classroom in the building. But all of that said, I think that having a transparent document that people can look on there to say, like, or just the email saying, this is when the part's ordered, this is how long it's going to be. It helps you then plan accordingly with your students.
Yes.
And then you can then go ahead and know, like, it's going to get fixed, this is short term, and my needs are being met, so.
Trustee Al-Jahmi?
Just to piggyback on trustees, he made a good comment. If we have a list of issues, it's easier to justify the bond because you know the different issues that's happened. But I was just going to share my experience for tracking things of this sort. Usually it's similar to a help desk system. And sometimes help desk system could handle that, which all you have to do is, you know, make a service type of building issues. And this way you have a trackable item. You could justify it later on to say we have buildings with heating problem, ventilation, and so on. But it gives you a trackable, but I understand it has to go through the engineer because they have to assign it and create a work order. So I get that part. But there is easy ways to report those, similar to a help desk system, and they're not very expensive.
Trustee Barry?
Trustee Zar, did I hear you say the teachers can figure it out?
I think
Imagine that.
I think so, right?
But on a more serious note, I mean, we've experienced before where the engineers kind of run the building, and you know, I'll pick on Kathy here. Kathy's a troublemaker in this building. She's always pointing things out. She's always pointing out, and they sort of kind of make an executive decision on what needs to be done or not done. So I can't imagine. I don't remember the last time we disciplined an engineer or custodian for not following protocol. Somehow, I mean, there's one particular building, we had the same problem for over a decade. 2, possibly 3 different principals couldn't figure it out. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, there's got to be a process where if I'm a teacher and I send it to my building administrator or my engineer and it doesn't happen, there's got to be somebody I can reach out to directly. So I agree with that.
I think that feedback can definitely be taken back to Dr. Maliko
Great
and his
discussion.
team in operations to discuss a way of tracking those requests.
And we'll put it on cabinet agenda for tomorrow discussion and see if there's any, with technology and things, of a workflow system that maybe we can do what you're saying, so.
Yeah, sorry, if I
Yeah,
may,
go ahead.
just to reiterate just one more time, is that the same system be from the teacher's desk, all the,
Sure.
so the teacher, right, and again, there can be stop measures, right? So if the engineer can like stop something or go back to the, whatever. I understand that the engineer on site is the one who is obviously more, and obviously we want most of the communication to happen in the building. I mean, they're the ones that are on the ground and know what's going on. But it just seems to be, to create transparency and accountability across the board from A to Z, if the teacher can be submitting a request right away, or sorry, I mean, into the same system that the engineer is going to do it to, so that everything is tracked from the beginning. So no one can ever say, hey, I didn't get a request, hey, the engineer is not listening, to, whatever. It just creates all transparency and accountability from the top. It just seems to make, and it would just probably solve a lot of conflicts too, I imagine.
And also, I would say, just our teachers have a lot on their plate to begin with, to make an easy system that takes 30, like
Yes.
something that takes 30 seconds. It should not be very complicated to put in an order, so.
And I think it's a good idea. We do the same thing for field trips. It starts, the form goes, and it goes to different people throughout, ends up with me. Actually, this one ends up at the board at the end, just getting the notification. So it's an example. Thank you. Good ideas.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Martin. It's a great discussion. Next item, please.
Next item is special reports. We have a career and technical education update by Mr. John Byerl. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
That's a rarity.
Thank you. Byerl.
Hi, Superintendent Maliko, members of the board. You know, I'm looking around and I see all these new faces and I realize it was about time I came and did this anyway. So I brought for you today a brief, really brief, kind of update on where we are with career and technical education here in Dearborn. Right, so I started out, I sent in my slide deck last week, and you all know we had a snow day last week. I don't know if you know, for us teachers, what snow days do. They throw everything into chaos. So this is not a student, although she looks like one. This is our culinary arts teacher, Karen Pokrivke. I did ask her to come along because she is one of the absolutely excellent professionals I work with every day, and I wanted to publicly recognize her for the amazing work she does with our students, preparing them in culinary arts, but also for hospitality and tourism careers, which I keep finding out is our second biggest employer in the region behind the auto industry. So sometimes that gets overlooked. I think I can turn right. February is Career and Technical Education Month, both nationally and the state. Governor Whitmer has signed this, and this is where we celebrate those programs that prepare our kids for life after high school. And we always say it's not like we used to think in the 1950s. Some kids went to college, some went into careers. It's now college and career ready because all students are going to be lifelong learners. So what is career and technical education? This is what I share in a much larger format with our students all the time. They are classes that, beyond the rigorous curriculum that all schools have, also include hands-on Skill training, laboratory training. We run a school restaurant, Ellie's Eatery, at the Michael Berry Career Center, where students handle all aspects of the restaurant. Work-based learning, where they get out and engage with members of the local community, finding out what it's going to be like after they're in high school and what that job's going to entail. Career and technical student organizations, clubs that allow those students opportunities for student leadership, competition, scholarships. They're built into our classes. They're not necessarily after-school clubs like at a traditional high school or in a traditional classroom. Student certifications, independent, third-party, external verification of what they've learned. I'm going to talk about this more in a minute, but it's our MSTEP or our SAT or our PSAT. How we measure success is when kids leave our program, do they have something in hand they can take to our local workforce that says, hey, hire me? And then there is college credit available for students, both through our articulation agreements with Henry Ford Community College, our partner, and also statewide. We're also exploring some dual enrollment options rolled into our career and technical education. So these are the 11 programs we offer currently. As you can see, culinary arts and hospitality. We have a business academy preparing kids for business career, allied health, pre-education, trying to grow our own teachers, criminal justice and law careers, police officers and lawyers. And then underneath, automotive technology, computer programming, construction trade, cybersecurity and IT, digital design, welding. You'll notice 3 of them I highlighted in red. Auto is great if you go to Edsel, Ford, and Fordson. You no longer have an auto program at Dearborn High. Those students can go to the other high schools and take it. However, they don't in practice. It's a little weird being the one Dearborn kid at Edsel, and there may not be room for them. Same with construction trades. We unfortunately lost our teacher at Edsel that's not available there. I had a student just share with me this week. She's completed 2 years of health science classes at Michael Berry, loves it, has a great time. She's starting an electrician apprenticeship. She didn't have a construction trades program. She loved allied health, she didn't waste her time, she had a great experience, but it does point out a need. Same with welding, as far as a state-approved program is only at Edsel Ford. I wanted to recognize this guy too, Mr. Al-Garabli over at Fordson. He is our automotive teacher, doing a absolutely fantastic job. We threw the world at him. He was a technician. We hired him to be a teacher, and he had to figure that out on the fly. And at the same time, he had to do his ASE 5-year recertification. And he just got audited by the Department of Ed to make sure he was in compliance with all of his program. Handled it with a smile, and he brings pizza to the meetings. So amazing. But he has this wall of fame. And to me, this is everything. Remember I said certifications are our PSAT? We're training kids through a 3-year program to go out and get jobs as auto mechanics at local dealers, independent service shops, oil change places, bell tire, you name it. We're pumping out the mechanics of the future. Tremendous job demand, very high paying. Those are all of the students who have passed the Michigan Mechanics License Exam in his class this year, or their ASE certification. So if you can look on that, I was telling him, one of my friends says, that's the pudding, because that's where you find the proof. He's doing what he needs to do, because his kids have those licenses. They can walk in the dealer when they turn 17 now and get jobs, high-paying jobs right out of high school, no college debt. So Mr. Al-Garabli, amazing. If you get a chance to go see his shop, I encourage you to do it. He is doing fantastic things over at Fordson High School. I saw this at a conference I was just at, this apprenticeship program wall that they put together. I'm looking at getting one of these actually custom for Dearborn with our local trades unions, but these are the 16 statewide trade unions that offer apprenticeships. And we are not sending kids into these. We just aren't. We know that there's a huge demand. We know that a lot of our students will end up in the trades, but we're not highlighting this. So again, I pointed out our construction trades program. It depends what school you're at. It is definitely something, I think on a strategic level, we're looking at is how do we bolster the trades and whatever. Our last, we have a partnership advisory meeting that talks about career tech ed programs at the Michael Berry Center twice a year. And the last meeting, our IBEW, International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, stood up and said, hey, my apprentices are making $54 an hour to start. That's $108,000 a year with no overtime. And you could have heard a pin drop in there. Parents, other professions, whatever. There are great careers out there. And another initiative we did, as I said, sorry, I'm going to go kind of chaotically fast. I did host a trip to Nashville, which is a national model of career tech education. They like to say their why was different than ours. They had a 44% graduation rate. We're not Nashville. Nashville's not Dearborn. But they do have every single kid, I think a little over 200,000 kids, every kid does a 3-year career program, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. And so we went to see how they do that. Not so much so that we could just steal that for Dearborn, but so we could look at what they do. Because I will tell you from talking to kids there, I think if they ever tried to get rid of this, it wouldn't be the teachers and the parents complaining, it would be the students. The students love this. They can't see any other way to do it. We kind of came out of that looking at two things. They have a really robust partnership with the local tourism bureau, chamber of commerce, city government, because they knew that those high school kids were the workers of the future and their economy depended on it. And then they have a 9th grade academy. I said they took classes in 10, 11, 12. They have a dedicated 9th grade class all year where kids kind of figure out what they're going to do in 10, 11, and 12. It sort of aligns to what we do with the Michigan Career Guidance Model, and we looked at it. So these are very initial baby steps, but you'll see I took the principals of the 3 high schools, a graduation interventionist, one of our assistant principals, and we're in the process of sort of digesting this and looking to see if out of that we can come up with some ideas for things to do in Dearborn. To sort of shadow some of the things they do, because again, it's an excellent program. If any of you want to meet with me, not at a board meeting and discuss, because it's a long discussion, but we can, anytime you want to discuss this. Very passionate about some of this stuff. I thought also while we were focusing on positive, I would focus on our funding, how we support these programs. The first 2 things are every year always, we're funded by federal and state funds. Our Perkins grant funds mostly salaries, for leadership and some reporting, and then that Section 61A state funding has been great. We did take a huge hit in that state funding this year, about 34% we lost, partly through declining enrollment, partly through the state not propping it up with ESSER funds anymore, and partly through, we have a lot of kids who start our programs where they get partial funding, and then they don't come back for the second year and generate the rest of that funding. So we're kind of working on that and dealing with that reality. I know that at our recent education conference, I talked to the curriculum leaders from all over the state, and they have written a letter to the State Board of Education and the governor advocating for increased funding to sort of replace those funds that evaporated this year. On good news, thanks to a lot of people, Superintendent Maleko, Mayor Hammoud, helped me out, our state representative.
Yeah,
Farhat.
Burns.
So they've been great to us. These grants keep showing up in the world of CTE that I kind of find out about, and they're like, Glenn's great. He's like, here's a check, spend it. Yeah, great, love it.
And Senator Camilleri was helpful with.
Yeah, for sure. So we got last year a $250,000, $250,000 for a cybersecurity program, which is up and running at the Michael Berry Center. It is running as an unfunded elective program this year because we have to go through the state approval process. It'll be funded next year. We're in that process. The cybersecurity lab that goes with it is nearing completion. Mark Andrews has been great working with me on that. Really looking forward to that, and actually kind of expanding out into a lot of interest in our IT program. Everything from the help desk computer repair careers all the way up through cybersecurity. Been great. There is a $2.5 million skilled trades grant floating around out there. I don't think I can really talk about much because I don't think really anything exists, other than there are some architects exploring ideas about consolidating our automotive and trades program to sort of deal with that equity of access issue. What could we do so that all kids could get training in the trades? All kids can partake in those excellent automotive programs. So that's kind of, I think, where we're at with that. And I'm sure Mark and I will talk to you as that progresses, because for every one of those dollars, as you know, there's a community meeting and a recommendation and a vote that has to happen. That's how grant money works. We also, through Chastity Townsend, the Education Foundation got a grant from Ford. As part of that, getting kids interested in the skilled trades, we just got a $20,000 grant to buy a robot for the skilled trades program. I actually ordered that today, finally, and that's in the process. And then we are exploring options at our early middle college, the Henry Ford Early College, the Collegiate Academy, to see whether, well, we can generate CTE funding for those programs. The question always has been, was that juice worth the squeeze? Would it cost us more to put that in place than we would generate in funding in return? But we're at least looking at it going forward. And then I think I have one more, just sort of in general things I can share with you. I talked about this a little bit, thinking about this idea of what does it mean to be a high school graduate in Dearborn. We have the academies at Fordson a little bit more developed than Dearborn High and Edsel, but a focus on a career-centric high school education, not maybe structured like Nashville where you're locked into taking 6 classes. More like, as long as you have a plan, it's okay, just don't graduate majoring in whatever, fit your schedule, right? We want to have kids to take classes that mean something and build up to something. We are always reviewing our curriculum, so we have some things that have come from the state recently, allowing our career tech ed kids, like maybe a kid in automotive, to not take one of his science classes or one of his world language classes or Algebra 2, because they just don't need that going forward. And therefore opening up more chances for them to take other classes to improve their skills or take classes more aligned to their future plans. We are looking likewise to realign our business curriculum. We have a great business curriculum. We just know that 40% of our kids are going to end up in a business career and only about 5% of our kids get into our business program, and we're trying to make things a little smoother and more logical for them. We're thinking it's more a marketing program problem on our end than anything else. We are looking at that pre-trades model we have now. Right now, we built it strictly off the state standards, and it leads towards a carpentry apprenticeship, but only carpentry. As we know, there are many, many, many trades in construction. There are also manufacturing trades. So we're looking at something that will start as early as 9th or 10th grade and get kids exposure to those careers. Think back to that apprenticeship wall slide I showed you. Just making kids aware that after high school, it doesn't necessarily have to be college and college debt, that there are other options, and that yes, you can do this, and yes, you can make a living at it. So we're looking at a class, think of it as kind of a exploratory maker space, do things with your hand, figure out that, hey, yeah, I can do this stuff, kind of stuff. So that's in the process of going through curriculum right now. And then we're in the very basic stages of talking about if we did some kind of Nashville-style 9th grade career exploration, what would that look like? Who would teach it? How do we fit it in the schedule? What kind of credit could it count for? Again, that's something if you're interested in, get a hold of me offline. We're still at the talk it through. We're not even at the have the first meeting stage yet, but it is definitely something that's out there and we've been talking about. How do we get kids educated to where they can advocate for themselves and make better choices in their electives as they go through school? I think that's my last slide. I was going to say the one thing I didn't get to put in here, our open house is coming up March 12th, 5 to 6:30 with a meeting beforehand, 4 to 5 for our community partners. I will give you all personally hand-delivered invitation as soon as they're done. It is a great chance to come and learn about our programs. We have local colleges there. We have local employers that are talking about jobs. It's a real chance to reach out to the community. We get a lot of interested parents and students, even some middle school parents and students come by. Would love to see some of you there. So that's as fast as I can go. I feel like I'm out of breath because this is fast for me. I know there are questions. I saw some hands.
For sure.
Going up, so.
Trustee Barry.
Yes, John, I always enjoy listening to you.
Thank you.
I love your passion for our students in our district. I am so happy that things are going good. For my new colleagues on the board here, I strongly recommend visit, sit down with John. Very, very good things going on. But I not have a question, but I'd like to give a plug to the restaurant. What days are we open and what hours?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Please.
I had every intention, I apologize. We are playing a past potato of influenza in my beginning and afternoon kids last week when we had the downtime. So they took this week off, actually 4 of my students that were supposed to be here, been out for over a week. So You are here with me. I would normally have them here speaking. The restaurant is open every Wednesday and every Thursday. Of course, we will be shutting down for Ramadan, but we will be back up and going. We will be running this week, next week, and the following week. So if you'd like to come and see us, we would love to have you there. We open up at 10:30 and we close at 12, but we do allow you to stay in the restaurant until around 1. We'll serve you until around 1, where my students have the opportunity to host you, cook the food for you. We serve Dr. Maleko quite a bit. It is a wonderful experience for the students and for I to share our passion in culinary arts. And keep your eye open for us. March 10th and 11th, Pro Start. It is something that we participate in heavily as a culinary department. And my students will be competing in the Michigan Restaurant Association Pro Start competition, which will be hosted out in Battle Creek. We compete against all local culinary schools statewide for CTE competition. And we try our hand at a $250,000 Culinary Arts and Management Scholarship Award. And so out of that 2-day event, it is intense, where students compete in not just culinary arts, but table decorating, management, hotel. So they have to market their product. They also get a chance to do pasta, which I have a couple teams doing that, cake decorating, quiz bowl, and of course, all of my kids, John had touched base on certification. My kids are all certified in Serve Safe Management, which is recognized by the National Restaurant Association. And all restaurants in Wayne County and most counties, you must have that in order to even run and operate a restaurant. And so my kids compete in competition, obtaining those skills in a quiz bowl. So keep your eyes open for us. Hopefully this year we will take home a win. Plymouth Canton seems to always beat us, but this year is our year. So keep your eyes open for us.
Go.
Thank you.
Trustee Zahar?
What's your name again, ma'am?
My name is Chef Karen Pokrifke.
How long you been with this program?
I have been in the district for 20 years. So I started at Henry Ford Community College as a culinary instructor at the college level first. I was there for 10 years. I was wonderfully blessed with this opportunity when Eleanor Shepard retired in 2016, and to which I took over her position, and I've been with them since 2016. But in the district, overall with Dearborn, I've been here since 2008.
And how many students are you currently teaching?
So I have 22 first year and I have 11 second year. And then I usually do have some third year, not this year, but I do have them carry over. And it is a fun experience for them. My second year are the ones who run my restaurant program. So the more that I have return, the better it is for us. It's always a great problem to have too many kids in culinary arts.
For sure.
And how many people am I allowed to bring to lunch?
You are allowed to bring as many as you would love. We would love to have you.
Is it like a different menu every week, or?
So we rotate our menu monthly. So I do teach children cuisine from around the world. And so every month we do change that.
Okay, can't wait.
She's a phenomenal cook. You got to get there.
Great food, reasonable prices.
I invite you to lunch.
Used to meet Trustee McDonald for our birthday lunches.
And everything is halal, so please do join us. Right?
Yeah, wonderful.
Sir Barrow, I had a question about the cybersecurity.
Yes.
Students are enrolled, and you said funded versus
So
unfunded.
what we run are state-approved CTE programs that generate funds through Perkins and that 61A. It's a 2-year approval process. So we got this grant kind of dropped on us last year and said we didn't want to, and especially because it's a 3-year program, we didn't want to wait and then get kids in on the ground floor. So we just enrolled kids in the first class this year. They're taking the certifications, whatever. We're just funding it out of building funds instead of out of CTE funds. We will put in that intent to apply letter coming up March 11th, I think is the date. The state will start working that approval. Next year, we'll run the program again. Somewhere during the year, they'll give us the approval, and they will allow us to backdate that funding to the beginning of next school year. So we're on track to be a fully funded program next year with it. And actually, through talking to the state, we're actually going to apply as 3 separate programs. So the first year, second, and third year will all be a separate funding stream because we realize they align to multiple career paths. Like I said, information technology, tech support, help desk, computer repair, the second year into network and management, the third year into the actual cybersecurity, which is sort of the natural progression of skills. Bob Addy and his department have been amazing helping us. It's pretty complicated, and they've been helping us really figure things out.
That's great. So how many students were enrolled?
We have some kids who came through the DCMST track actually taking the third year advanced certificate this year. I think there's 14 of them or 15. And then we have two small sections of 16, 17, so a little over 30 first-year kids, and tremendous interest for next year. Just, I'm in the process of talking to kids, and it's one of the more popular things. I think especially because we've built it with off-ramps. If they get in it and they're not going to get all the way to that third year, there's definitely well-paying and well-skilled career branches that come off that, so. And as we do those advisory committee meetings, if you know people in that sphere in information technology and cybersecurity, reach out to me. We're putting our advisory committee together. We need probably 20 local employers to advise us in that field. I got some names, but I'll always take.
Dr. Miracle?
I just got to also support, Chef Karen does a great job with her students, and we've had our advisory council come, and it's really great to see, and it's fantastic food, so I'll be back.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, and Dr. Byrol, I know just finding funding, managing it is very important. Next month, we're going to have Ms. M. Barreco, who's here, present with Ms. Sewer on all the grants that we're finding. Our team is working hard. That's the position that we have to coordinate it, to find alternative funding. Mr. Martin was instrumental, Adam Martin as well, getting the CTE. When I talked actually to Mayor Hammoud and then Senator Santana, it was a lot of work that went into try to getting the funds. And once I said it may be available, I think they got the application ready within 2 weeks, and it was in and ready to go. We've also applied, and we haven't heard back. We don't know what's going on nationally now with all the changes, but Congresswoman Tlaib was supporting us with some federal grants that we wrote as well for similar programs. So we're hopeful, but we know now that there's been some kind of put stop on some of those funding sources. So just wanted to commend the work you guys do.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Maliko. Keep asking. Like, I make it sound like it's a lot of work, but I love the work. So just keep asking for money. I'll keep spending it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
The next item is citizen participation. Citizens wishing to address the board on agenda and non-agenda items for action who are signed in by 7:10 p.m. or 10 minutes after we start our meeting by submitting a blue card to the board secretary may speak at this time. The board may not be in a position to respond to non-agenda items, therefore speakers should not anticipate an immediate response to their comments or questions. For the benefit of all concerned, do not mention the names of students or school district employees. Please keep your comments as brief as possible. There is a 3-minute time limit on comments made to the board. And our first speaker is Robert Kivaglik. I'm not saying that right. How do you say it?
Chevalier.
Say it again.
Chevalier.
Chevalier? Okay, our first speaker is Robert Chevalier, who will speak to us on the selected cancellation of after-school activities on days schools are closed for weather.
Thank you very much. Good evening. My name is Robert Chevalier, and I am representing the performing arts students and parents at Dearborn High School. This past Wednesday, the district made the decision to close school on Thursday due to the forthcoming weather. Wednesday night was opening night for the student-directed scenes at Dearborn High School. This is a 3-night performance in a very intimate setting with 100 people in attendance. As the students, teachers, and adult volunteers prepared for opening night, the DHS principal was leaving the office. We were informed that Thursday's performance was canceled because there would be too many people in the building. A discussion about the audience size was held. The principal then assured us that I will contact the superintendent and get back to you, thus implying that the decision was to be made by the superintendent. Throughout Thursday, the teacher contacted the principal, and the simple answer is there was no response from the superintendent. As rule followers, we canceled the performance, resulting in the loss of at least $600 in revenue. I will not go through all the financial items because this is a secondary issue. The primary issue is why were the performing arts students denied the opportunity to perform while the athletic students were allowed to compete? Not only did the district wrestling match occur, but DHS also hosted a swim meet. The bowling took a bus to an away event. The basketball teams and cheerleaders were allowed to practice. The message that was received by these students was not students first. It was performing arts students don't matter. Performances are performances, whether it's a wrestling match, a swim meet, or a theatrical performance. All students must be treated as equal. Furthermore, other performing arts students had after-school rehearsal scheduled for vocal music and instrumental solo ensemble held this past weekend. Why were their practices forced to be canceled when basketball and cheerleading practices were allowed to continue? The performing arts students put a tremendous amount of work and practice into their activities, no different than our athletic students. Yet the decision to treat the performing arts students to be less than that of our athletic students. The seniors in the performing arts at Dearborn High have already received more than $1 million in scholarship offers for their on-stage talent. This does not include academic or merit-based scholarships or financial needs scholarships. Therefore, I have a few requests. Please tell us who is responsible for this decision. Please inform us of the decision-making process that is used to determine which events and practices are allowed to continue when school is canceled. And the final request is for the superintendent, the DHS principal, and any members of the school board to attend a meeting with the performing arts students at Dearborn High, where you can provide those answers to them, as you need to justify your actions to them, not to me or the other parents here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Malek, do you have a response?
First thing I would just say is we never want to close school or any events, to be honest. You know, but we have to for safety. And I made the call to shut down basically the entire district gets shut down. And the protocol is that we shut down all activities. There are some exceptions that go through that come up the ranks to Ms. Ali Bazzi in the athletic department if there's competitions with other schools, and sometimes there's exceptions made, but generally everything is shut down. We do plan to talk about this at cabinet to see how we'll do this moving forward. As far as me responding, I did get an email from a student in the evening. It was late. It wasn't, you know, on a day that we closed, and I did respond to one student. I don't know if anyone else tried to contact me, but I did respond to that student about 8. I saw the email about 8 o'clock.
Can you comment if the principal contacted you? As she informed us that she would do?
I don't recall if I got a contact on that from the principal.
Thank you.
At this time, I have to think about that, but because I talked to her on a few different issues, so. But anyway, we don't want to cancel school, but we have to for safety, and I can assure you we're not.
Totally agree with the reason.
We are
for
not,
canceling school.
we're not looking to center out arts in any way. Basically, events were canceled throughout the district, and some exceptions are made, especially when other, and a lot of times the superintendents, we talk and we look at competitions that are occurring, and sometimes we agree that all events, including athletics or whatever it may be, and sometimes we allow an exception when districts are playing each other or there's final tournaments. I had no knowledge up until that, what you're saying, until I got that email, so. But we're definitely not looking to center out the arts, so.
We definitely want to review the process as far as what to close when we have, because those events are voluntary, I would assume.
Yeah, and generally.
Parents and students, they volunteer, students volunteer to be on those extracurricular activities.
Same as they do for sporting events as well.
So we, like I said, we do not have, we generally shut everything down because we don't have staff in buildings. That's the issue. When everything's shut down, we do have engineers that will come in on a limited basis, but it's not, but we can talk about it in cabinet. In fact, Ms. Ali Bazzi asked me to come up with kind of a consistent system. But generally, when we're shut down per the contract and everything gets shut down. There's a few exceptions that can be made through the athletics, and they have to get special permission. But
So it only
usually
applies to athletics? Is that what you're saying? Special exceptions are for
you
athletics
know, there
only?
could be other events that we've approved in the past. I don't recall specifically, but generally, the request will come in, and there will be exceptions made when it's told that the event. A lot of times it happens to be sports. I'm not sure if we've had it with the arts. I do think we did allow last year, if I recall, one day, there was a performance at Dearborn High in the evening. It was a performance that was put on, and I think we allowed it. Mr. Martin, I don't know if you recall that, or Ms. Farage.
For which event? What time of year?
I just recall last year this happening, so, and again, I don't want to keep getting in a back and forth, but
Yeah,
we can get back to you if we got your information and we can get that protocol.
Let's get the parents' information, but Trustee
Down the
Barry, you
counter.
had a question?
According to our agenda, I mean, board follow-up's supposed to be later.
Right.
But since we're already having a discussion, I mean, was there any events that took place in the building that night?
Yes.
I would have to get back to you on what, Adam, you're
No,
aware.
what I'm hearing you say is that we made exceptions. And I also heard you say that we don't know if there was enough people to keep the school open. How does that?
Well, it's whether or not we have engineers in the building to run the building, that's the issue.
Well, I mean, if there's a basketball game going.
Then there would be.
There has to be. Not would be, there has to be.
Correct.
I
Correct.
mean, yeah, please look into that and let us know.
Yeah, we can, for
if
sure.
there was any other events.
Yeah.
Somebody, I mean, if there was any other events, something happened, and yes, students shouldn't feel, you know, the basketball players shouldn't feel like the wrestlers are more important and the performing arts.
Yeah, we can discuss.
Students first, everybody should be equal.
Trustee Zara, and then we'll get Mr. Martin to comment.
I want to thank you and all the parents who support their kids in performing arts. I'm a performing artist, so this stuff hits very personal and deeply to me. I don't think anybody, and and this is why sometimes we don't see it. I don't think anybody thinks that the administration singles out performing arts to cancel, right? But it's more about not thinking about it in the same way we think about everything else. It's more about maybe having a blind spot when it comes to preserving the performing arts. And so I would just ask everybody to have a more of a eye towards that. I don't think anyone thinks that, somebody made a conscious decision. Everyone else can do something and these guys can't. But I think it's more about sometimes we just don't think about it. And the truth is the performing arts develop, and I know we all believe this, but the performing arts and the arts in general develop as much skills in our young people as any sporting event or anything else that kids do. And so I just want you guys to know that I'll always be here for you if you need me. And, again, as an artist, I understand how deeply personal and how important this is to all of you. So thank you for everything you do.
Mr. Martin?
Yeah, my understanding on Thursday, it was Thursday, correct?
Yes.
That Dearborn High was hosting the MHSAA wrestling meet with multiple teams there. So I think those of you that know athletics understand the MHSAA, if you move off, there's other scheduling issues. My understanding was that was the event that kind of precipitated some of the others. I did want to clarify, since Ms. Farage is, she wasn't working that day, Mr. Brill did reach out to me, and her and I had a lengthy conversation. To Dr. Maleko's point, she was speaking of me, if you spoke with her, in terms of who she was talking to. And I did consult with Ms. Ali Bazi, and that's where we're at in terms of how the decision was made. I think going forward, like Dr. Maleko said, we'll explore what our process is in terms of what does and doesn't happen in the building. But to Trustee Czar's point, we apologize, validate your feelings, that we apologize. Yep.
Can we get something for the kids, for the students that were displaced essentially?
So I certainly think Mr. Brill and myself can work on that for sure.
That would be
Yep.
appreciated. Thank you very
Absolutely,
much.
absolutely.
Thank
Yep,
you.
yep.
Thank you.
Trustee Petlishkov?
Well, since you're going to be having this conversation with Cabinet, and since we see that there seems to be a need to have guidelines that are pretty consistent across the board for how we approach when we have these exceptional weather events or any other events, I think we should also, when we develop the guidelines, have bullet points, be very clear, and have something available in each building so that when something occurs, we can have an explanation that, we can hand to the parents and to the students that defines why this is occurring and what the processes will be, so that they understand. I understand that if it's an athletic event that has multiple schools involved and they think that they can go ahead, that's why they wanted to stay committed to it as opposed to a single school building event. But then we have to explain it. and we have to be able to justify it, and it has to be consistent across the district at all of our buildings.
Well, if I could just add, and I've been promoting the arts, I'm just gonna say, because you guys all know, I've been on the committee with the music and everything, and I go to the art performances, nothing was done intentionally. Here's the issue with school closures, is every situation is different. So you might have one day where the morning is a hazard, but in the evening it clears up. But you've also had situations where the day before you close, you actually have to cancel all activities because you're dealing with snow or ice. So the one problem with we have to have a consistent system, yes,
Right.
with flexibility. Because and I've been doing this now for 10 years, and I'm gonna tell you, every time we've had to close, it's under different circumstances, different parameters, and so that's why as superintendents in Wayne County, we do discuss, sometimes everybody just agrees it's gonna be very dangerous. We have the meteorologist in the meeting with me, that's where we get the scientific data, and we all may just agree, there's not gonna be anything, we're not running any athletics. We do it kind of jointly to, for safety. But we've heard you, and I appreciate it, and I can assure you nothing was done intentionally. We value all the students. We have a lot of events, and we're just gonna have to come up with maybe protocols on top of, with some flexibility for unique circumstances during these variety of emergencies since I've had to close school over the last 10 years.
Trustee Barry?
Just real quick, I'm sorry, President Moses. Trustee Azar, this board has always supported, the arts program, this music, performing arts, it's always, I'm very proud of that. And so has the administration. So Mr. Martin, wherever you're at, thank you. Thank you for acknowledging what happened. Let's move forward. The only thing I can say is, yes, there should be flexibility, but either the building is open or it's closed. Keep that in mind when you're talking to your cabinet.
Thank you.
Thank you. I believe we still have a speaker, correct?
Yes, this one was submitted, I read this one, right? This is from Mary Lane, who says, I attended the Etzel Ford production of Macbeth on December 6, 2024, and thought all the students and staff involved did a really excellent job with a challenging work. I would like to extend my congratulations and recommend community members that they patronize events at the schools and HFC.
Thank you. Next item, please.
The next items are,
Action item.
action items. First item is special consideration of an action items. First, are there any agenda items on this agenda which board members or the superintendent wish to discuss and vote on separately? If there are, we will exclude these from the motion below.
I believe we would have, do we have to
Have to
single out 16?
fill in a name, yes, so pull that one.
Do we have to pull that as an individual motion?
Well, no.
Well, let's do that. Let's,
To fill in the name, you would have to pull, because
Yeah.
otherwise you're going to make a
let's
motion
take
for the whole.
16, yeah, let's take 16, single that out. So we'll do 1, 2.
With
seven-
the exception of.
With the supplement, we have supplementals too. So 1, 2, 19 with the exception of 16. So we'll vote on 16 separately.
Which one is 16?
16 is the MASB Board of Directors election, where we will have to fill in. And,
Fill in the blank.
Yeah.
I do have a question before we vote, so that I don't ask for an exception. Could I do that?
We gotta
Do you
wait
have
for the
enough-
motions on the table.
We still don't have any motions.
Right.
We're just asking right now.
Trustee Czar,
Trustee Zahar is going to read it.
you got last
But are we
sentence.
going to
Yes, yes, I'm
single out
sorry.
16?
Thought you were
Last
still
sentence
talking.
in B.
So so you want me to read, sorry.
At this
Recommended action.
time,
At this time, the secretary will call for a single motion to approve all of the actions items on this agenda, with the exception of any items which have just been excluded from this motion by board member request.
okay, so now you have to say, move the action items numbered 1 through 19 with the exception.
Of 16?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so the recommended action here will be, we move that action items numbered 1 through 19?
Correct.
Is that correct? Be approved as recommended, yes, as recommended in this agenda, with the exception of item 16.
So moved.
Support.
Okay.
So motion moved by trustee Barry, supported by trustee Petlishkov. Any discussion on any of the items or questions?
Now is
Trustee
your time for
Abdrahami,
questions.
Did you have a question?
Yeah. So there's a couple items, and they kind of focus on Henry Ford and building renovation, and they talk about 2 buildings.
Which
So,
item?
Yeah, number.
Which number?
just bear with me a second.
Number 9.
Yeah. So,
Number 9?
yeah, I think it's 9. There's 9.
With the,
Oh, sorry. There's number 7, and there's 9.
will these be the same question, or do you want to take each one
It's
separate?
each one. So number 7 talks about renovation of the 2 buildings. Are we talking about the same buildings for those 2 items for number 7?
So number 7 includes multiple improvements. Part of the scope of work for Clark to manage is the early college. We're also looking at several other projects that were mentioned earlier tonight at the Michael Berry Center that the architects are working on. And there's also some mechanical improvements that we're working on. We also have the green schoolyards.
But is it the 2 new buildings that we're renovating? Is number 7 deals with the 2 new buildings?
For the construction management portion, correct. That'd be a portion of their scope of work.
And number 9?
Number 9 is to expand the early college. Right now, we have work that's ongoing. It was previously approved and ongoing for the south building. This is to expand that scope of work into the west building.
And go back, sorry, to number 7. It said there was a $12,500,000 budget for full scope. Is that accurate, the 12?
So, correct. This is just estimated. We're still waiting on some funding to come for some of these projects. However, our architects are working on the full scope, especially at the Michael Berry Center. If we can get additional funding and do more for the Michael Berry, then we would probably have to revise Clark's contract later on down the road. This is just for the end of the 2025. So we have $2.5 million allocated for the Michael Berry project right now. We anticipate to get more, and if we can, then we'll move their services. So this is up to that amount, depending on how much funding we have, we're anticipating on getting.
Well, the reason I asked is said increase by $1 million to $5,800,000, but the budget is $12 million.
Yeah, just to give a little background on the whole thing, whenever we do a construction project, we're required to have an architect by law. So you'll see that we're using French and IDS for architectural services. I believe that will happen in March, that we'll bring those forward. In addition, we have a construction manager. The construction manager helps us lead and operate the building and watch over the trades that actually do the work. The third part is actually the trades. So number, I think, 8 or 9, which one is the trades?
9, I think.
9 is the
Right.
trades. So that's actually the plumber, the mechanic, HVAC.
People doing the
The
work.
construction manager is helping us oversee that because we don't have enough staff on our own staff to be able to run it. And so the other one you're looking at is the construction manager. So there's 3 pieces for every construction. So even though they might name the same building, there's certain components that they work with.
So 7 is paying the construction manager.
Correct. So we're expanding the scope from the original project from the south building and the ESSER projects. It's all one contract. We're expanding it, amending it to include now the west building at Henry Ford College.
Okay, and the reason I ask is it said $12,500,000, but we're increasing it by $1 million to $5 million. So it just didn't make sense that if we're still within scope of the $12.5 million, why do we need to give?
Well, part of the, actually, number 8, keeping that right, 8? 9. 9 is expanding the scope of work, so that's roughly about 3.6 million? Right. 3.6 million, so, and part of that, the other part is what Dr. Barrow was up here before on the voc ed expansion. So their CM is crossing several different construction programs, but it's all one contract, so that's why the number is larger.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Can we have a roll call for the motion, please?
Trustee Al-Jahmi.
Yes.
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Trustee D'Ambrosio.
Yes.
Trustee Petlicoff.
Yes.
Trustee Watts.
Yes.
Trustee Czar, yes. President Mosip.
Yes, thank you. Now we go to 19. Or, I'm sorry.
16.
No, 16.
16. So you can read just the recommended action, Mr. Secretary.
Yep. So now we're looking for a motion to move that action item 60, oh. Yes, ma'am. I'm new.
You're fine.
I just got here. Yeah, thank you, Pat.
Just remember, I did ask if you wanted me to highlight.
Okay, got it. So for item number 16, correct?
Yes.
For item 16, the recommended action here, do you want me to read the background information? Do I need to do that? Just the recommended action? The recommended action here is move that the Dearborn Board of Education cast its vote
For blank.
for,
Blank, we'll then,
real?
we'll fill it in.
okay, got it.
I know.
Move that the Dearborn Board of Education cast its vote for blank as candidate for the MASB Board of Directors position for Region 8, Group 6, 1 seat for a 3-year term.
Trustee Petlicoff?
Okay, I did the research and my homework on all of the nominees.
So let's get a move and a support first, and then we can.
Well, I
into
wanted
discussion.
to put the name in, that's what I was doing.
You have
Oh,
to put the name in.
Oh, you want to complete
Oh,
that?
Yeah.
sure, yeah. Go
I'm
ahead.
just letting you know, I did the research, and I would like to select Randall Meisner from Fitzgerald Public Schools.
What school district, I'm sorry?
It's Fitzgerald Public Schools, but that's in Warren,
Okay.
Michigan.
So that would be from also Macomb, correct?
Yeah, there was only 2 Wayne County.
Anybody read the bios, the emails that we've received from other candidates that they want to bring another name forward?
Thank you for doing the homework.
Yes, thank you.
Now, Amir, you read the motion?
Yes. Randall
the-
Meisner, is that what you said?
Randall Meisner.
Randall Meisner. Okay. Move that the Dearborn Board of Education cast its vote for Randall Meisner as candidate for the MASB Board of Directors position for Region 8, Group 6, 1 seat for a 3-year term.
So moved.
Support.
Moved by trustee Barry, supported by trustee Watts. Any objections to the motion? Can we attach a unanimous roll?
No, it can be a unanimous.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Okay.
Next item, please.
Inside the last page.
Got it. Yes. I remember you showed this to me. Thank you. Okay, summary of agenda action items. Number 1, approval of warrants. Number 2, approval of an award to AMCOM. Number 3, approval of an award to Access. Number 4, approval of an award to Hop Skip Drive Incorporated. Numbers 5 through 8, approval of change orders. Number 9, approval of an award to Chrisman Constructors, Turner Brooks, Conchi Painting LLC, Shock Brothers, Great Lakes Hotel Supply, Covenant Environmental, Great Lakes Power and Lighting, and Brencall Constructors per Board Report 24-89. 10 through 13, approval of non-instructional and instructional personnel items for P through 12. 14, approval of financial statement. 15, approval of 2025 January graduates per Board Report 24-95. 16, approval of 2025 MASB Board of Directors election. And 17, approval of donations. Oh, sorry. Okay, 18, appointment of a assistant principal to Woodworth Medical School, or Middle School, I wish it was a medical school, not yet, Woodworth Middle School. And number 19, appointment of special education coordinator.
Dr. Maliko, you want to make some announcements based on the?
Yeah, so I'd like to call up first Mr. Douglas Ratcliffe. He's been acting as the interim principal. Now we're making it official. Let's give him a big round of applause and welcome him to the podium.
Thank you. I just quickly want to thank Principal Jabril, Principal Rayback, and then Mr. Adam Martin for investing in time in me and into my career. And I want to thank the board and Dr. Maliko for the opportunity, and I look forward to continuing the work that I've been doing at Woodworth, working with our students in Dearborn Public Schools. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And next, Ms. Carrie Schoolmaster. She was acting as interim, and she is now a permanent position as an administrator. So let's congratulate her and welcome her to the podium. I've known her for many years, going back to teaching time at Salina.
25 years ago,
Yes.
I picked up from college and moved to Dearborn, not knowing anything more than Greenfield Village. But in the past 25 years, I've been able to work with some amazing educators and leaders, and most of all, I've been able to make Dearborn my home. So it means even more to me to have this opportunity to support the community and make sure that all students have the opportunity to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Next item, please.
Next item, number 9. Next item is discussion item. That is a first budget amendment for 2024-2025 with Mr. Thomas Wall.
Good evening again. I've tried to do this in 5 minutes, but I won't do it. So I'll just get you off of that expectation. You always got to manage expectations with the audience you're with. As part of our normal budgeting process, we do our first budget amendment at this time frame, and you'll actually approve it at the next board meeting, but this is just a discussion item, so we can have a discussion what it's all about. If you look on the screen, this is our budget calendar. So our budget process usually starts in January for the next fiscal year, 25-26. And our first step is, for our purpose, is to do our budget amendment, because we do a budget adoption by July 1st. And when we did our budget approval back on June 3rd of last year, it was based on a lot of estimates because the state law was not passed at that time. So now that we actually have our student count, all the revenue is kind of figured out by the state how to handle it, we update our budgets and we bring it to the board for formal adoption. So this is basically our current operating program we're doing for the 24-25 school year. Now, as in the calendar, the state has started their process for next fiscal year. So we kind of look at where we're at now, taking what the state information is going to be coming forward for the next several months, we start developing our budget for next year. But this is the part we look at for today, is just the adoption of the First Amendment. You'll see on the dates that we'll be meeting again, constantly talking about this. Our next big one is in April. We'll look at a first look for next year, because we'll have a better idea what the economic factors are and where the state is going for next year's budget. But looking at this year, again, I always like to lead off with this screen showing you where all the money is in the fund on a pictorial basis. We have our capital project fund, which is restricted. Our debt funds, which is restricted. Our special revenue funds, we have more control over it, but it's based upon the individual grants or the funding source. And then we have the general fund that kind of captures all the remaining funds in that. That's mostly our operational budget. If you have questions, feel free to interrupt me as I go along. I won't be as fast as Dr. Barrow, so I won't speak that fast. A big component, we have 3 big components, obviously state aid, student count, and our compensation. Those are our big things we always want to make sure we look at when we look at the operating budget. Last year, in June, we actually expected to increase slightly by 41 kids. That's on the blended count. Now, we have 2 counts, once in the fall and once in the spring, actually kind of winter more like it now. February 12th is the upcoming one. The counts are based on the calendar year. So we're looking at last February's of 24 count and this fall's 24 count to get our true revenue for this school year. Our actual count was 385 kids less than we expected from our budgetary projection. Now, with that and the actual decrease, we add those 2 together, we're actually at a shortfall that I'll look at a future screen on the actual revenue, because we get our foundational allowance of $9,921 per pupil. Just looking at the pictorial for all funds, you can see the majority of our funds, which is the yellow, comes from the state of Michigan. Since Proposal A passed in 1994, most of our money comes from the state. Prior to that, it was local elections that we would handle for our own villages, but now majority of our money comes from the state. Recently, a lot of money has been coming from the federal side too. ESSER funds, and we're just finishing it up this year with a little bit of construction funds that ended September 30th. So that you'll see that actually phasing down as we go forward. But if you look at our total budget, you can see our amended budget is $463 million. That's broken down here more by categories and numbers, so you can see percentages a little better. Same information from the other side, but this is just looking at the revenue side now. And you can see that for all funds, that the majority of the money comes from the state on the right-hand side, the amendment of roughly $290 million. You'll see the state on the left side, we originally projected $278 million, and you ask, why is that number higher when we got less money from the state for our foundation? Is grants. State has now moved to more of a grant discussion as we talked about in the past. And you can see the federal is roughly about the same, but you'll see that going down next year as the ESSER funds move out. Looking at just the general fund, which is our operating fund, you can see that roughly about 73 to 75% of our money is from the state. So the state does make up a large portion of that. The other portion that's big is the blue, which is local. As part of our foundation allowance, even though we get $9,921 per child, we are required to levy that 18 mills on non-homestead property, which is the businesses. The total of that, the blue and our foundation allowance, make up our full $9,921. So just realize that even though it's the local portion, it's still part of that $9,921 people. You won't see a large variance between the two, but just so you're aware of how the larger portions work out. Looking on the expenditure side, you can see we spend a majority of our money on instruction. That is the basic classroom, which is in the classroom. We spend a majority of our money in the classroom as we kind of philosophically plan every year. So whenever time we do adjustments, the classrooms are usually the last ones that we adjust to make sure that students have the resources they need in the classroom. The only thing you'll see slightly here also is the increase in transfers that we'll get a little further on in discussion of why that is happening. This is just broken down, the same thing in the general fund, but broken down more by different categories. So you can see that on the bottom part of the expenditures, that you'll see that our salary projections were pretty on line with what it was. Roughly about 130 million of the 267, which is roughly almost 50%, is based on just salaries. The next three items, benefits, FICA retirement, workers' comp, another 35% of our budget is based on the benefits. So if you look at that total, where about 85% of our operating budget is spent on salaries. So again, that's our third component. So that's something we always have to be aware of. So when we look at significant changes, if I recalled I said that we adopted our budget before the state aid is passed. And unfortunately, last year, they kind of took a left turn on how they were funding it. They were promising money for us in our pupil foundation allowance. Our most likely scenario, we do 3 different scenarios as we go through the process, best case, worst case, and most likely. We adopt the most likely as we get forward to the end of the adoption process. We expected $241, so they gave us $0. So that was a significant change of roughly about a $4.7 million loss. They were going to take away some of the grants. Enrollment stabilization was one of the grants, but they gave it back to us. MIPSers, which is our retirement fund, is where they really started messing with dollars. As you can see, some of those numbers are pretty big. So them messing with dollars could really impact us unexpectedly on an individual district than what they see at the state level. Fortunately for us, it worked out to our benefit. And taxes, if you remember, we had that issue where they didn't levy some of the taxes the prior year, so that's why it's higher in the subsequent year. So the net effect was roughly about a $6.4 million increase in revenue, which was good for us. Now, granted, some of the taxes were a one-time revenue, but for on a single year basis, it was good. But on the next count, you see where student count, our other big piece we always talk about, is that we actually lost the total of 385 plus the 41, so roughly about 426 kids we lost revenue for because of a lower student count. That was about a $4.2 million loss. So netting those two, we were roughly about $2 million higher overall on the general fund change. Looking at staff compensation, you can see, budget actually was pretty good. Again, we control that one, so it was easier to forecast where we're at. Now, are we higher than staff because we lost those 421 kids? Yes. but we usually don't make those kind of adjustments in the same year, because that means moving teachers out of their normal classroom, kids being reassigned. We don't usually do that. We roll that into next year's work, figure out how to balance that number if we're too high. Other expenses, only bigger things is contracted services are up. You know, we have older buildings, we have to spend more money in our maintenance and operations. And we also have, we're doing those consultants this year for the communication of reaching out to the public on the potential bond. That's in that cost also. With that $2 million surplus, we're actually moving some of that money over to our building and site fund, again, to handle some of the repairs that we need to get done. So I know the community's not going to be able to read this, but this just gives you a larger picture of looking at the original and the other amendment side for special revenue funds. Just be aware that you can see most of them are balanced. You know, for grant purposes, you know, we getting grants, we only expense what we have, so there really isn't a come and go. You'll see that the food service and adult ed are the only ones that really have a fund balance because they operate on year-to-year basis. They could have a loss or a gain in any given year. So that's why you see a little bit of fund balance, but most of the other funds, the student activity fund, funded projects, and Act 18 are all self-balancing. We only get the costs that we spend, and we get reimbursed for those exact costs. You'll see in funded project, that little 3, it's on the screen later, but I'll kind of touch on it now. You'll see that we originally estimated 84 million, actually came in 104 million. Again, there are more grants that came up as the year progressed. We applied for them and received them, so a lot of those are grants that we applied for. One of them was the Voc Ed grant that we got for expanding the Michael Berry for their construction trades and auto tech. You'll see another one that we received was for energy efficiency from the federal government. We applied for that Renewed America that we had to do. And you'll see some other ones that I'll mention later. Looking at this is just a general fund side by side. We kind of went over those numbers, but just to kind of give you a comparison if you want to get in further detail. You'll see here for the overall all funds, you'll see the debt fund that right now we're at 1.35 mils. When we originally went back out in 2019 for the bond, we were at 4.82. So that number has dropped as bonds have come off. And that 1.35 until 2034 will continue to go down slightly as we get near the 20-year mark for those original 2014 bonds. The other one is the capital projects. You'll see that there's roughly $8 million in that ESSER funding. That's the federal portion. That finished up in September 30th. It's still in this fiscal year, and next year you'll see that roll off. So just looking at this, I've already talked about the ESSERs and debt funds. So some of the other was that 12A, that's the energy improvement bonds. 74B, infrastructure. We applied for a grant to help offset our electrical buses infrastructure. That was accepted. The 99.4, 99.5 is the vocational capital improvement in green schools. 31AA, they were originally going to cancel that one. At the last second, they came back and extended it for mental health. 31N was for mental health, HRA for mental health. So we are absolutely, looking out there for any grants that we can get to help offset costs for the district. Stronger connections to mental health, and 21st Century, which you approved at the last board meeting, is tutoring. Normally, Access has done that in the past, but the state has limited the number of buildings they can help, so they asked us to be a fiscal agent. So we're running the program, collecting indirect costs, but they're still running the program as a subcontractee. That was quick. So I'll open up.
Good.
Anytime you have questions, I met with Jamal earlier today. We went through, spent an hour just going through budget items. Always glad to do that. It is a broad, big area, and it's hard to be, an expertise in everything, but you need to have that general understanding. I'm always glad to meet with you and go over it.
Trustee Petlicoff.
Okay, the elephant in the room. We hear a lot of instability right now coming from the federal side. And a lot of these grants, energy improvements, electric buses, capital improvements, I'm assuming are federal grants.
Correct.
Since we can't be reassured right now that we're actually going to get that money in the bank, I know my understanding from what I'm hearing and reading is that we're probably okay for right now for things that we've already.
Correct. For this year, we're good. Yes.
We're good. How much of these projections can we withstand some seismic shifts coming from Washington DC and potentially from Lansing, number one. And number two, and I'm going to kind of mix the question, my understanding when we lost the 400 so student count, that we eventually got back a number
Correct.
of those students, but we did not get the funds to
Correct.
follow with them. I thought originally Lansing had changed that so that the money would move with them if they came in after.
So let me give you a little
So
history
what's
on that.
going on
Yes.
with that?
So we have firm, dates that we collect student data on any given day, and it's done across the whole state of Michigan, so they can know where every child is on a given day. If they were in another school district prior to us, so if they came in after our count day, we get a portional credit for that, and you'll see that as part of the student counts. You'll see 23A, those kids that transferred. They might have started in Crestwood, but then came to here, and vice versa. They started here for our count date, and they went there afterwards. They would get a prorational amount up to the secondary count date. Those kids are accounted for. For those kids that were never in public schools this year, those are students that would not be in our count because they came in after the count day. The state was promising to do a supplemental for us for those districts that had that happen, because they knew the refugees were coming in or coming from out of state because of, issues outside of their control. They just traveled later, that they were going to give us a supplemental, and that was on the agenda to be approved in December, but unfortunately, things kind of blew up and nothing got passed. So the money, there is extra money in this school year. We don't know if they're going to still do a supplemental or not. With the new legislator, they're still working through their kinks, and so we have not heard anything about those additional students. My understanding, there are about 385 kids that could be counted that we get a prorational foundation allowance for.
So I wanted to make sure that our community members understand that while it sounds like we lost this amount of students, we
Right.
really didn't lose them. It's just the accounting
Right.
side.
The financial support we get from the state does not allow us to
does not
count
allow.
those kids for
But
funding.
we actually didn't lose that many of students at the end of the day. Okay, so that I wanted to clear up, and then we're back to a lot of this uncertainty right now in our political landscape with a lot of our funding. Are we prepared to weather the storm, so to speak?
Well, that's one of the things that we're going to have to make some assumptions, because right now, any grant that's coming forward, we were going to talk about American schools in the Finance Committee, about whether we could apply for it again, because there's a 25% match, and unfortunately, we don't have necessarily the operational money to match that we were considering going into our fund balance to match that to do some school improvements. So basically getting $4 to $1 on money. They end up pulling that off just today. They pulled that off the shelf and it closed that window, because that was due in April. Now it's not even open. So we don't even know if it's going to reopen again. The other things we're seeing now is language being associated with federal grants. That if you're going to apply for a federal grant, you've heard some of the White House executive offices, you can't offer a DII program.
Right.
And if you're doing it, you're not eligible for the grant. And they said they are going to audit districts or any grantees to see if they're actually are or not doing that. So now it comes into question whether we can even apply for federal grants. So as you're also aware, the states are filing lawsuits one after the other, opposing some of these, White House mandates that are coming through. So where it's all going to end, I'm not sure. But what we're going to do is look at all our grants, especially the federal ones, and see if we don't get that, what the impact is. Now, that impact will affect next school year.
Right.
So as we go forward, we'll have to make the assumption that we're either not going to get that and have to figure out how to handle that, because some grants do have staff in it. And we don't want to lay off staff, so that means they have to roll into our current staffing. And maybe we look at those that are retiring, we don't hire new people, we roll those people in. So it's going to affect a lot of different departments. HR might not be able to hire things like we like to hire early, get the cream of the crop from the graduating classes. We might have to not look at that this year. So those are the things we're going to have to decide as administration and board where we're going to go with that and how it's going to impact next year's budget. This year we're fine, but it's next year is going to be the issue.
Yep. All right.
Trustee Watts?
So two things. What is the current fund balance percentage?
11%?
You mean the rainy day, what's?
Yeah,
The
we have a
fund
certain
balance.
percentage that we always like to.
So when you look at the general fund, it's the 37,639 is our fund balance on the, oops, sorry, wrong side. 30 million is our fund balance on the amended side out of a 283 million. So you're probably just under 10%.
And what does the state like us to have? What is best practice?
Well, if we're under 5%, if we're under 5%, we're a going concern, and then we have to start filing reports with the state of Michigan to show how we're going to get out of that.
Okay, so
The
we're,
recommendation is usually anywhere between 5 and 20%.
Okay, I was gonna say, we liked it around
Right.
15.
Our own board policy, it says 5 to 20. Anytime we're over 20, we're expected to work as a group to figure out how to get it back under 20.
okay, so we're at 10%, and I think you had already mentioned this, and I know that this is what I'm doing. My position is looking at the language for those grants to start looking through the application to see what sort of verbiage.
Right,
They're hunting for.
yes.
Okay.
Matter of fact, we have, I just talked to Joe and Danae, put some language on the cabinet to start talking about, do we even qualify or not qualify? You know, I don't necessarily know every single program we do, so that's something we're gonna work as a group effort to see if we are, and if we want to be, what's the compliance we would have to take?
I was gonna say, are we gonna have our legal maybe start to have to weigh in on some of this if they're more up to speed about what's going on?
It's something we're gonna have to consider,
We're
yes.
gonna have to consider, yeah.
Correct.
Trustee Barry?
Yeah, let's clarify the student count, Tom, Mr. Wall. The students that we lost, they're not the same students that came into our school.
Correct. Correct, because we were based on students that were here for the February count of last year is what we do as a projection.
Correct. But I mean, I heard earlier, it was a good question that was asked. We didn't lose any students.
We lost the students we had last year, but more additional new
Placed,
students
yeah,
came in.
because of what's going on the other side of the ocean.
Correct.
Like if we didn't lose the students that we did lose, we would be up 400 students.
Yeah, I don't know if we're actually, they could have been a
Just
student that just
guesstimate,
came in
just
late.
guesstimate,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I just want to make sure.
And Fatmi Faraj and Rosal DeBailey were tracking every student. We do have some, for example, that they didn't come back. They were in
came
our
late,
district
you're right.
last year, but they didn't come back at the start of the year. Normally, the
That's
pattern.
not the 400 students.
No, not all of them.
Not that many families went
Yeah, no.
overseas during all this trouble going on.
What we looked at, though, with the data, and again, every situation is different, but they would count for one of two reasons. If they weren't enrolled, and this is what the supplemental was going to be, and then it blew up during the lame duck, was that if they weren't already enrolled in another district, or if they were enrolled in our district and just didn't come
get
into
here in
class before the October 10th, they would have counted. But you are right, that there were different reasons. We've looked at previous years, and this was an odd year. It was not within the norm, because we generally would get 70 to 80 students that would come within that time frame, and this year it was about 380. So it was an odd phenomena. Again,
wanna
we can't
make-
say for sure on each individual, but it was data showing that it wasn't within our norm.
I just want to make sure that the discussion that we've had before, that we're bleeding students,
Oh, with the,
that still exists.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, we need to keep an eye on that. We
yeah.
can't just say, oh,
Yeah.
student count was low, but
No,
now
I'm-
it's okay, because it's different students.
yeah. We're losing students at the high school. We look good at the elementary levels, but the high school is, and we've had some that are going online in other places.
Those virtual
Yeah.
schools.
So you're right,
I mean, we
absolutely.
don't want to say it to the community that, oh, yeah, no, we're good over there. No, we're
Yeah,
not good. We need to have that discussion.
Sure, absolutely. But this was just a unique phenomena that we were trying to work with the legislature to get the funding for our students.
Sure, and the problem, most likely, we're not going to get these funds.
We're still going to advocate.
We're going to advocate,
Yeah.
but the reason we're not going to get these funds, we're probably one of the very rare districts that this happened to.
Well, we do have support from some of the educational organizations for this, so I'm hoping that we can use those.
I mean, I don't want to
for a
sound
lobbyist.
negative, but
Yeah.
if this was a statewide issue,
You'd have more.
we'd have more
Sure,
power.
sure.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the fact that we got guesstimating about 400 students because of what was going on overseas, maybe another district got 40, maybe a district out in Oakland County got a couple hundred. We're the minority in that discussion. That's why.
Sure.
Right. It's only 2% of our student count, but still, it's a large
It's
number.
a large
'cause we're so
amount.
large, yes.
It's a large amount.
Any other questions for Mr. Wall?
And I always, again, anytime I wants to get further into a certain section, I'm more than willing to do it.
Thank you for what you do, and congratulations
Thank you.
again.
Yeah, congratulations again.
Yeah, you got a fun job.
It's not an easy job.
Next item, please.
Okay, next item will be acknowledgement of correspondence.
Now, we did receive a letter today that I believe you all have from Mr. Duggan, right? Yes, Dennis Duggan. All of the emails that we received about personnel have been responded to accordingly with Dr. Maleko, so thanks to all the parents and citizens who have corresponded with us. Next item.
Next item is board member committee and organization reports.
Finance Committee did meet. I was sitting in for Treasurer D'Ambrosio, and the items that were discussed were the amendment to the budget, as well as the explanation of the budget that Mr. Wall just did. He did also mention the Renew America Competitive Grant, which is needing a 25% matching fund and possible usage of the fund balance for that. That's to be looked at. There was also the banking services. There will be an RFP for that service, so we can get a better rate from the banks. I believe that was any other item, Trustee
We
Barry?
did add
Trustee Aljahmi?
legal services on the agenda, but we didn't have enough time to get to that today.
Okay.
So we are looking for information on that.
Yeah, thank you. Any other committee reports? Trustee Barry?
The policy committee also met earlier. I sent out an email earlier today asking my colleagues that if there's a certain policy you want us to get to this year, please share it with Mr. Musson and myself. Also, we had Joanne circulate the minutes of the study session from February 28, 2023. We kind of want to get on the same page on some of those policies that were discussed. Some we got updated on, some we're still looking for information, but we will get to it. Some of the items on the agenda was board meeting agenda regarding citizen participation.
Yes.
Mr. President. The discussion we had is we're going to keep it the same, but give you flexibility, give the president flexibility to move things around.
Okay.
If there's, what this is, what we're talking about here, if we get a room full of our constituents or students, the president will have the right to move citizen participation up the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just so that we're following Robert's rules, he really needs to
Entertain a motion to.
entertain a motion that.
Sure,
to
sure,
move.
sure,
Yeah,
sure. But we're saying, we're
But
just giving,
that's always been his prerogative.
sure, sure. The
or
other thing
the
we,
president's prerogative.
the other thing we discussed is the cell phone search protocol. And all that was just kind of updating and educating our staff on the protocol. And at the same time, moving forward, we're going to try to figure out, we're going to follow up on how do we educate our students on their rights when it comes to search protocol. Placement of administration was also discussed, administrators. All that was, we're just updating the policy to kind of like mirror state law. Was there anything else? Okay, thank you. That's all I had, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. Any other committee reports? Seeing none, we can go to the next item, please.
The next item is board member and superintendent commentary.
I do have some commentary, but I'll wait for anybody to say any commentary. Trustee Aljahmi?
I just want to, I'm sure a lot of you know Mr. Baydun, who works at Edsel Ford. He's a counselor, a great person, a good friend. And I just want to send our prayer to him. He had a heart attack, and our heart goes to him and his family. We wish him the best of health, and it's really, I mean, he's the kind of person that always gave, a genuine person, a person that cared about our kids and impacted the community in so many ways. So we want to wish him the best of health. And, you know, we wish him to be back at Edsel Ford and continue what he's doing.
Absolutely. All prayers to Mr. Baidoon and his family. Trustee Zaha?
Yeah, I would like to bring up something to the superintendent that we talked about briefly before, but I also brought up at our college meeting last month, and that is how we classify and count our students and how we look at categories, especially racial and ethnic categories. I know that we have a software system, I believe, called MyStar in the schools that keeps a profile of the students, and one of the things that it tracks is race or ethnicity. And for the longest time, Arab Americans were absent or invisible from these things, counted as white under federal law. That seems like it's being rectified by the federal government as of March of last year, but still for educational institutions from direction from the Department of Education have been able to add more categories to these things if they wanted to. So what I'm asking is that if we can get a clear answer of what are the categories that are currently depicted on the MyStar system and how they're currently classifying students, and to update it to reflect our population. So if there is not a box for Arab American, or the government uses Middle East North African, which I don't like, but whatever, that's what they use. If there's not a box for that, that we ask the software company to add a box for that, and to add sort of specification boxes beyond that. We have a unique population, and we should get the proper data so we know exactly how to address all different concerns in our district. So that would mean if we do have a box for, let's say, Middle East, North African, or really any other thing, that people can specify beyond that. Let's say what country they're from or whatever. And very importantly, that they can check more than one box. You know, we are in an increasingly diverse and, quote unquote, mixed, we have a lot of mixed families and all that kind of stuff. So it's important that also students can classify for themselves, or their parents do it, more than one category if necessary. I know sometimes I teach this class or teach this stuff at school, and people get confused sometimes where, how can you have 4 people in the room and have, 3 of them be white and 3 of them be Arab? Well, and there's only 4 people. Well, somebody married somebody, so you have somebody that is a member of more than one racial, someone can check more than one box. So we need to have those things available so we can have an accurate depiction so that we know right away when we're speaking and when we're talking about our district exactly how many, especially in a place like Dearborn, what's the percentage of Arab American students? Right now, I think we have no idea. And it's important that we have that kind of accurate information. So I'm just asking you, I know we've discussed it before, but I'm just asking you to look into that so we can get clear answers so we know exactly how to, what to ask for from the software companies. And hopefully to start a process where maybe in a year from now, after we've gotten the right classifications and gotten people to fill them out, that we do have accurate numbers of all of our students. Thanks.
Any other commentary? I've also sent the entire board the link to a form where you can input the board goals for 2025, 2026. So please look for that. And I'd like it to be shown in the March meeting here as a presentation item that we can track for this year and the year after. Thank you, Trustee Ajami, for mentioning Mr. Baidoon. He was also on my agenda. I know Founders Day for the PTA is happening on the 27th. I know Mr. Nabil Thalaya, the president of PTA, is here. I hope that some of us can make it. I know I plan to be there. And I wanted to mention about news about ICE raids in certain places in our community. And I've talked to Dr. Maleko about this, and some of you as far as what we're doing as the district. And the district does have a plan of addressing these kind of situations if they were to be happening at our schools.
Sorry, you said ICE raids?
Yes.
Sorry, okay.
Yeah. So Dr. Maleko has a plan, has addressed it with his administration, addressed it also with the teachers and secretaries if this issue were to happen. And then I don't have anything else, so next item.
Next item is request for information and/or future agenda items. Oh, I guess that's when I should have said what I just said to you, but okay, sorry.
Thank you for trustees.
You're new here.
Sorry, I'm very new here, yes, thank you.
We already have that request. Any other requests? Trustee Barry.
Just for the record, my opinion, you're doing a good job. Don't go anywhere.
Thank you, Zane, thank you.
So
Good, nice to hear that from everybody.
I would like to get a history of, I'm gonna go ahead and call it, we called it earlier, the Joe Guido fund balance, Dr. Maleko?
Oh.
Just to kind of follow up on trustee Watt's question, see where we've been and what direction we're going, and just gotta keep an eye on that, please.
Maybe over the last 10 years or longer, do you want to see?
Let's see, we started, 15 years.
15?
Yeah.
Thank you.
We've seen it not too long ago, we just needs updating.
Sure, we'll have it, yeah.
Just needs updating, that's all, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other requests? No. Trustee Al-Jahmi?
One other thing that I'm looking for, and we should all be looking for, is to kind of get a better handle or understand of our EL students. I met with Dr. Patterson and did an amazing job getting me up to speed. But one of the things that I was hoping that, from a data perspective, we could get some data analysis based on number of kids designated as EL students in the district per school, and the number of years those kids are in the program. Because there are some kids that are staying 6, 7 years, whatever. I know the data's there because he showed it to me, but he can provide it to me. It's just, probably doing some kind of pivot table or something to that extent. And also the number of kids that have exited the program.
Okay.
Because right now, from what I'm being told, is if you look at the high school level, the number of the exit is very small. Where they exit is more at the elementary school. And this will give us a good gauge, as far as our proficiencies. Where is it impacted by? Is it the EL students and so on? And just to make a statement, the number of years will dictate a lot of things. Because I do think if you take kids that are, and just my personal opinion, that are not a second language speakers and they take the WIDA test, they might struggle with that. But it gives us an idea as far as, how many kids do we have in the program, how many are exiting, and how long they've been there.
Great. Got that, Dr. Maleko? I got it. Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, there are no more requests. Next agenda item, please.
Next is future meeting dates. Monday, February 17th, 2025, the Henry Ford College Board of Trustees Policy Committee meeting, 6 p.m. at the Administrative Services and Conference Center in the Cabinet Conference Room. Monday, February 17th, 2025, the Henry Ford College Board of Trustees meeting at 7 p.m. at the Administrative Services and Conference Center in the Rosenau Boardroom. And Monday, March 10th, 2025, P12 Board of Education meeting, 7 p.m. at the Administrative Service Center in the Frank Franchi Boardroom.
Thank you. This meeting is adjourned at 9:49.